All right. Welcome to the dumbest, shittiest, most pathetic, disease X-riddled podcast that has ever existed since the dawn of humanity. I'm here with a special guest. It's going to be kind of a little bit off the beaten path of what we normally do. Jamie Date. Say hello, Jamie.
Hi, how are you?
You like my intro?
All of a sudden entered into a sex phone line. My dream job.
Say hi, Jamie. Say hi to all my crazy audience. So Jamie and I go back. Jamie and I was a part of like a men's group, you could say, and we were learning about like how to interact better with women and that kind of thing, which I've had a lot of interaction with before. So I'm just going to tie this into my audience so they don't think like I've lost my mind, which I already have, by the way. So the first and foremost is people usually know because of my bio, and if you look into me, that I'm a member of the Amorati, which is a book associated with Zanparian's book called The Alabaster Girl, which I'm a huge fan of. It's all about beauty and romance and what it means to be a man and how to love and appreciate beauty in women and that kind of thing. And then I actually wrote a book called Love is a Battery, and it's all about relating battery and electricity to magnetism and seduction and human interaction. So this is not something totally crazy. I personally think that Jamie has like an absolutely amazing platform. I think she has an absolutely amazing things to say. I am like in love with this woman. I'm in love with what she does, literally like full blown. And I wanted to bring her on the show because I think that all my people, because what we deal with, Jamie, I don't know if you know a lot about what we do. We do a lot with like the IRS and the Department of State, and it's like, but the thing is that one of the things that I talk about a lot is that charisma and connection and communicating is always senior to any papers and all this other bullshit. You can go in there and if you can smile and you can interact well with, because a lot of the people that we interact with over the phone or the people working at the counters are women. So it's also kind of like, this is applicable to what we do. It's actually way more applicable to what we do than some people might think. And so that's kind of, I wanted to tie it all in together. So say hi, welcome to the show, welcome.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. What came up for me when you said that is it's like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? And I feel like, obviously I'm not too abreast with what you do with the I remember you telling me this years ago. You're like, this is what I'm started. I'm like, you're fucking nuts. And then today I'm like, you're fucking nuts, but you're doing it, and I love it. But it's true. It's. I feel like when you further define your identity and you start it sounds so woo, and I hate that they've taken this term, but it really, when you're living your truth, right? You're not afraid to just be yourself unapologetically. That can bleed into the things that you're doing as far as, with the taxes, with the IRS, with all the, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you are creating this entity of dominance, of this is who I am. I'm not going to shy away from it, and I don't care who sees. And that is the magnetism that is effective, that is proven to work, when it comes to connecting with people. Because people want to be around someone that is sure of himself. No one wants to be around a person that's always questioning, right? Guys or girls, it just makes you feel kind of insecure yourself, right? So when you are, leading with that trust and just going at it full force, that's what's going to attract, and things are going to be attracted towards you as well.
Yeah, and I think I love your stuff so much. Every time you pop up on my feed, I'm just like, oh my God. And then recently you've been doing the ones where it's like you talking to yourself, and it's like two people talking to each other, and I'm just like, oh my God, like it's just so brilliant, and it's so clever, and it's so cute, and it's so applicable, and it's so real, and it's not woo-woo, and I just I love it. I personally, I think that what you're doing is honestly some of the most valuable, beautiful stuff I've ever seen. So, I mean, I can say thank you so much. You've definitely changed my life dramatically. I can without a question.
Thank you.
Without
Thank
question.
you. And I feel that every day. I'm like annoying about it, I'm sure. I'm kind of in a moment of transition. I'm about to move. So in the in-between time, I'm actually staying at my parents' house. And I'm like, every day I like get off, finish my last call and I like get outside to dinner. And I'm like, I love my job, and it's so funny because I've never, it's like every day I'm like so motivated. I'm so passionate. And, it's funny if you talk to me, 5 years ago when I wasn't doing this, I was like, working a dead end job, odd and office job, hated it. And I was like, I just want to be one of those people that loves their job. Like, is that even possible anymore? And now, fast forward to now, like I look back, I'm like, thank God I found something, because it really changes your whole life. Like to actually work in something you're passionate about and so be able to support yourself with the earnings that you make from the thing that you're passionate about is just like, holy shit. I mean, that's the key.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm new to that life myself. I left my day job back in like September fairly recently.
Nice. Good for
And
you.
yeah, so
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
kind of like living that life now too, full time, and it's just like wow, it's an
And you're
amazing
helping
thing.
people. And that's the
Yeah,
thing. I mean, the fact that we can also help people too, it just it adds this whole other element of just, and this is the thing that I don't like about where, and I shouldn't say like society really society online, really emphasizes this point of like I hate people, I prefer dogs, people suck, they're the worst. And it really it breaks my heart because I love people. I don't think that people like coaches or we could do this if we didn't love people. And it almost reminds me of in like zoos. I don't know if you ever heard this, but like in zoos, if you can tell if an animal in an enclosure is actually healthy if it's reproducing. Like if it reproduces successfully, it's like okay, they're happy. They're nailing it, right? And isn't it interesting that I feel like right now, when we are at a time where people are having less and less children, people are having less and less sex, like it really is indicative of how I don't want to say how sick our society is, or how unwell I should say our society is right now. And it just and all these studies too that have come out. I'm sure I don't know if you saw the TED talk, but about like the thing that actually buys happiness, right? Because money doesn't buy happiness; it buys options, right? But the thing that buys happiness is relationships, is interactions.
yeah,
And if happiness is the key, if that's what we're all after, why not apply that same sense of urgency, that same logic to dedicating yourself to like learning how to like people, to see the best in people. Because like my lens, the lens in which I see the world, like everyone's my best friend. They just don't know it yet. Like that's how I see everyone, and it's
yeah,
amazing how that comes back to you, and I really do feel like I don't have any enemies. I'm good, and it's not to be like I'm a people pleaser, but it's also I feel like the world is a lot more open to me when I am open, when I lead with openness first.
yeah. And I think that's because what we have a problem with in our group, and one of the reasons why I think what you have to say is so crucial for what we're doing is it's probably something you've never heard before. How it relates to what you do. But basically, like we're trying to get compliance, and we bring in a lot of papers that are legal, but they scare the absolute shit out of people. They think it's not legal. They think it's insane. They think this. They think that, and there becomes this emotional situation where there's a lot of fear on their end, and we have to overcome that fear with education or however we have to do it, right? And it is important. It's sort of like one of the things that we struggle with all the time as a group is we get irritated, we get angry, and it's sort of like, and it's no different than online dating, and you get angry at that because it's the same stuff, or you waste your time, or you go out, or you do this, or you do that. So it's sort of like, how do you use friendliness and like you said, everyone's my best friend to get compliance with whatever it is that you're trying to do, even in the business world, which is a beautiful thing. And so relationships can go, it can be relationships, whether it's business relationship, it can be a relationship, whether it's a sexual relationship, it can be a relationship of just friends, acquaintances, it can be all these different things. And it's like a currency in itself. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today with you, which was like the economics of scarcity and abundance between men and women because I talk a lot about money and I talk a lot about the financial system and I talk about a lot about the structure of how money works. And when you start to really study all of these things, you realize that everything is kind of like a currency, basically.
Yes.
And the thing is that men have a huge scarcity in the area of sex, and women do not at all. So it's kind of one of those things where, but then men might have more of an abundance in one area than women do, and I think it's a fascinating subject myself.
Yeah.
It's like the currency and the ebb and flow of life itself. So it's like, as a guy, I spent my whole life being like sexually destitute to like an absolutely extreme degree, basically, right? And it would be like 30, 45, 60 days of like an hour, 2 hours a day on online dating, trying to find a girl. And it's so sad too, because when you're in that mindset of such extreme scarcity, you can't really see much and you can't really think very well and you can't really appreciate people very well. You're just starving.
Also, you're getting inundated. You're getting inundated with ads. You're getting inundated with everything that you don't have, right? Hashtag capitalism, right? Let me put in your face, let me throw in your face everything you don't have. Now you're feeling sad. Now I can sell you something. Like that's the whole goal, right? So it's like alone feels even worse now because everywhere you look on your phone, out the door, whatever, it's showing in your face of, look at all these men that they're getting all these things that you don't have, you know? So it's just like it amplifies that feeling tenfold.
And that's like the Instagram world. It's like the Instagram world is, look at how amazing everything I have and everything that I do is, but like
Right.
no one is really having that experience in real life. It's all just kind of like,
Yeah.
they think that they need to present this sort of image, and so they manufacture this image, and it's not even like real.
You know, it reminds me of, oh God, this is so fucked up, but I feel like I could say, and I don't want to say this is fucked up, whatever. I can say this to your audience, so I feel like they would appreciate it. There's a comedian, and I don't know who, wait, I feel like Joe Rogan. Young Jamie, look this up. Where Shane Gillis, where, he's like, oh, my brother, I think his brother's cousin has Down syndrome. And, a lot of people, they'll like come up to me and they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And it's like, are you kidding me? No one's having more fun than this guy over here. Like talking about his cousin with Down syndrome, like, this guy's having a time of his life. Like, he's doing better than all of us, And I think it's because they're not sucked in to this world that we're forced to play this game that I don't think a lot of us want to play anymore. And also, again, if the thing that brings us happiness is connections, the lifestyle that we live is just so isolating. Between like the work from home, Me Too scaring everyone, away from each other, just social media, video games, the addiction to porn, which is on the uprise like crazy right now. All of these things are pushing us away from each other. And of course, isn't it such a coincidence that now we are living in a world where there's more depression, more anxiety than ever before, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and I think to your point about like supply and demand, right? This is a very interesting topic. I think two things are happening when it comes to men and women, right? Because actually, before I even get into that, you had said like men their scarcity is sex, right, and women isn't. Well, it's funny when you say that. When you think men, you think
you
pretty
could
much
say
all men, right?
if you wanted
But
to be
with
even more
women,
specific, you would say like men think their scarcity is sex. I mean, I don't really even, you know what I mean? It's like,
No,
but to
I would
us,
agree. I would agree. Scarcity, sex is harder to come by as a man, for sure. I agree with that.
yeah,
But what I'm trying to say is, when you say like women, it's not. Well, what type of women are you talking about? Overweight women, women that are
yeah.
old,
No,
women
that's a
that
good
you know what I
point.
mean. So you're
Yeah,
talking about a very few, in the grand scheme of all women, right? And it goes to show you how much we ignore women that are not beautiful, women that are not beautiful to your eyes, right? You don't even pool them, because those
Yeah.
women aren't having sex either, or maybe the sex that they're having isn't the sex that they want, right? But as far as the supply and demand of women right now, it's interesting to me. Like I said, two things are happening. The first is that men, and I don't want to sit here and say it's men's fault or it's women's fault. I think it's a culmination of both, right? I do think men though perpetuate that supply and demand of beauty and sex a little bit because they're the ones paying for it, right? So again, capitalistic society, women are gonna be the demand or be the supply. But when it comes to men, the first thing when it comes to addiction to porn, right? So now we have a society, we've been having a society, and all these studies now are coming out because now we've had the internet for a while. Because porn is so readily available, what's happening to men is that they are now tricking themselves, they're tricking their subconscious into thinking that they can get that dopamine release off of these beautiful women for zero effort. When you do that 3 times a week, daily, every other day, for years and years and years and years and years, over time, you're going to trick your psyche into thinking, okay, I can get that woman, I can get beautiful women. And when you're out in the real world, you're like, oh wait, no, I actually have to put in effort. No, I'm just going to go home and get myself off real quick, right? So over time, any sort of effort now is looked at as too much because your body, your biochemistry is just so used to getting it so easily, right? So that's the first thing that's happening. Second thing that's happening, women, right? So women, we are wanting more from men. Do I think that's wrong? Not necessarily. I think maybe some women have very, very ridiculously high standards because of what we see on social media. I mean, even me, I am a low maintenance bitch. I'm not going to lie. I should probably, and I think it's because of what I do. I feel so bad. I see guys get walked on all over. So I feel like if anything, I'm like overcompensating for the men that I date. But as far as like with women, it's like a house. You don't need to survive, right? You don't need a lot in a house. You just need 4 walls, a roof, a kitchen, whatever, right? But now you have money. You gonna get that same split level house, or you gonna get a nicer house? You're gonna get a nicer house if you got money to spend, right? Women, it's the same thing. It's the same logic. When it comes to women, we don't need you for your money anymore, right? We're more educated. We're getting higher paid jobs. So now we're not dependent. It's not that dating, women are getting more selfish. It's that, well, kind of in a way, but not, I don't know if it's selfish or it's just we're more self-sufficient. So now women are requiring that bigger house. Now I want my man to be more attractive. I want my man to be able to communicate. I don't want him to, have anger issues, punch holes in the wall. Like, I want him to be able to go to therapy if he needs. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that we are looking for in a man now. So is that wrong? Is that asking too much? You know what I mean? So I think two things are happening simultaneously, that as well as, again, what we were saying earlier, like the way that we're living our life through isolation, working from home, all these things. All of these things combined has made an interesting play on the supply and demand of women and men.
Yeah, I think that's, it kind of reminds me of something you said once, which is epic, super, super epic. It's the age-old question, and most men can't even. They love asking the question rhetorically, right? Especially disgruntled men. What do women want, right? And you're the only person that I feel I've ever heard, and I've been through. Not to be mean to anyone, there's a lot of great information. Brian Bajin with The Fearless Man. I've read. The Art of the Superior Man or whatever it is. I've read like most of that book. I've read David Deida. I've done a lot with Zampirian. I've done stuff with the group that you were a part of previously. I've done a lot of different things other places, and I've only heard an answer that made any sense from you, which is what a woman wants is she wants a man who has lots of options, but chooses you.
Right. A man that has other options but still chooses to be with that girl. Because if you break down that sentence, what does that sentence actually mean? Who is a man that has other options? Well, this man is likely takes good care of himself. He's probably styled well, groomed well, right? This man is not a fucking what's it called, a bum. This man probably does well for himself. Does he need to be a multi-millionaire? No, I'll go on the record and say none of the boyfriends I've ever dated have been multimillionaires. You know what I mean? Like, but still be capable, right? Still, be self-sufficient, be able to lead, right? So that's a man that has other options, Also a social life. That's the other thing. We can get into that after, which is the woman's number one attraction trigger, which is circumstance. But either way, when it comes to men, exactly like that is that type of man that would have other options, but still chooses to be with that girl. Okay, so let's analyze that part of the sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I feel women don't want to feel like we're your only option.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. Women do not want to feel like we are your only option. So when you make yourself too available,
is that because you don't know if he really likes you or if you're just a body that's there? Is that basically what it is? Like, what's the thinking behind that?
Because we want to feel like we're chosen, not that we're a last resort.
I see. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's, yeah.
So yeah, if you want to describe it like a body, but also just like you're the only thing I can get. It's like, what the fuck? Because women don't think like that either. Like, we still want to feel like we want to try for a man too, because that's the other thing too. Like, chase isn't just for men. Women like a chase too, but our chase looks a little bit differently. And so when it comes to that, like, and the women that I'm actually talking about here are like the healed women, the women that, are in it for more than money, right? Because we can talk about gold diggers, and that's another whole section.
I don't even want to. And the reason why is because I'll tell you, I've got money and I've seen a lot of things and I've done a lot of things. And I feel like if you love yourself and you love women, I've never even had a gold digger try to contact me. I mean, I don't even, funny? They stay away from me. It's like a spiritual thing.
Yeah. The types of men that always complain about gold diggers are the ones that have no money. And I'm like, first of all, calm down. Like, they're the ones that are like broke, that like can't afford my program. They're like, I don't want a woman that's after me for my money. I'm like, first of all, what money? but thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's interesting, because when you start actually, a good man, like, I define, like, there's 4 types. Everyone heard of like the nice guy, right?
Of course.
But I break it down into like 4 types. There's like a quadrant, right? 4 types of men. You got the nice guys, you got the bad boys, you got the sad boys, and you got the good guys, right?
Sad boys.
The bad boys and the good guys, those are the ones that get the most women. Now, the con with being a bad boy is how long are you actually able to obtain those women? Not very long, right?
Yeah.
Women will catch on. You probably have a bad reputation, probably for good reason. I'm out, right? Can't hold them down for that long. Good guy, the thing that sets the good guy and the bad guy apart is being able to have boundaries in a relationship. Things that you are willing to accept and things that are a hard line in the sand, no. And actually acting towards them and not allowing yourself to be manipulated by beauty. Because men will do crazy things for a beautiful woman, but why? So that's the other thing too that I talk about. You got all the listeners out there would love this analogy that I've used. You go to any financial advisor and you give them money, right? And you're like, hey, here's my money, put it in a place that's going to make me more money, right? And a guy's like, hey, listen, I got the perfect fund, I got the perfect place, right? It's always going to depreciate though, no matter what. You're going to be like, what? No, why would I fucking invest it into that? That's what men are doing with beauty. Beauty is a depreciating value. So when you're only looking for beauty in a woman, that's the only thing you're going to get out of it, and it goes down.
Is that, I mean, you could almost go so far as to say, like, everything in the definition of value, I have a whole section in my book about this. The actual physical definition of value is scarcity. That of which is scarce is valuable. That of which is abundant, that of which is everywhere has no value. And the more of something that is accessible, the lower the value becomes. The less accessible or more exclusive something becomes, the more valuable it becomes. Is beauty valuable because it's depreciating and because it's so fleeting? Is that why it's so valuable?
I think, you know what? This brings up a really interesting topic because I can actually argue another point. Because listen, the answer maybe, I don't know. I think that's a very, it could be very true. Another way of looking at it is I think that the average person isn't beautiful. So beautiful is more rare. However, why I think recently, in recent times, beauty is actually more common, especially in women. Because, I mean, you ever seen a fucking 13-year-old nowadays? They look like they're, 18 and gorgeous. I'm like, you
Yeah.
haven't even gotten an awkward face yet. You know what I mean? Like, there is no awkward face. You're like child and model, and like, there's no in between. And it's because, even in social media, as soon as you go to social media, what do you advertise? How to do your makeup? How to do your hair? We didn't have that back then. I didn't even learn how to be pretty until I was in college, honestly. Because I was in a sorority and they taught me how to do makeup. I didn't know this stuff. I'm dating myself a little bit, but when it comes to like I think that women have just learned how to really hone. Like you can take an average looking girl, but you put her in the right type of makeup, you dye the hair the right color, you do dress her right, she gonna look bomb as fuck, and you're gonna be like, damn, like that's beautiful. Men have not harnessed that skill yet. So I think another thing that's happening too is over the course of women being able to be self-sufficient and have higher paying jobs and not having to rely on men for money anymore, we've really stepped up in the world of careers. Like we've really stepped up in having to learn these new skills, having to really exercise our masculine energy. Like every day,
Yeah.
I complain constantly. I'm like constantly in my masculine. I'm just hoping for a man that puts me in my feminine, that's so masculine so that I can but with my job, I'm a fucking dude. Online, I am a dude. You know what I mean? So when it comes to balance out that equation, what I think is happening too, or what needs to happen, men need to take a little bit more of a page out of women's book and learn how to be beautiful, like how women had to learn how to be self-sufficient financially. Like I think that balance needs to go back again, and that'll really help out. Like really taking care. And this is the one thing. I'm sure it's not the one thing, but this is the thing I do agree with people like Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson.
Andrew Tate, your favorite.
I wouldn't go that far. But I will say this: give credit where credit's due. This is the thing I love about to take yourself up to the next level. Get fucking ripped at the gym. Like put yourself first. Like that's the stuff that I love. Now, do I think he goes overboard a lot to be showboaty? Yes. Do I think Jordan Peterson talks a lot to hear himself talk instead of actually, being more collaborative, instead he's a little bit more combative? Yes. But I think at core value, what they have to say is great. Now, this is actually something that Jared said at Modern Flirting that I thought was so true. Why did you guys need such a movement like that to feel like you could get better, with yourself and go to the gym and work on yourself? Why do you guys need a voice like that? Because people like Tony Robbins, people have been saying that stuff for years. Why Andrew Tate is the guy, that's the guy, even though all these people have been saying the same thing. But whatever helps you get there, I guess, is everyone's on their own journey.
Well, he has a political bent, and he has a political. He infuses a lot of his communications with some sort of political thing, and because the politics are so hot, you're seeing this. What you're seeing, I think, because I study all this stuff just like you do. Mm-hmm. It's a polarization effect, just naturally. I mean, he's taking something that polarizes someone so aggressively, and it is the right, quote unquote. I'm not really right or left anymore. I've kind of totally blasted out of all of that. I really can't stand any of it. But the right, which is obviously probably going to be more the kind of people that are going to polarize
value,
him.
Conservative, yeah.
Strong-looking dude, says he's a dude. Says he likes women. Women are women. And then he has the political infusion. So I think it's timing, and I think it's what he said, and I think it's the fact that he doesn't use politics as a way of just simply trying to polarize in some unnatural way. I believe, and I think most people believe, that he really means what he says. And yeah, he brings the volume up higher than where it needs to go. I'm not necessarily a fan of Andrew Tate. I'm not necessarily not a fan of Andrew Tate. I think some of the things he says are really amazing and really interesting, and some of the things he says are ridiculous, and he turns the volume up like 100 times higher than it has to be for things just to create an effect, which is fine, whatever. But it's the polarization effect of what he does. But let me ask you a question to go back to what you were saying. How would you define masculine beauty?
Masculine beauty? First of all, get your ass to the gym. There's so honestly, like,
I need to
because I
do
think
that.
this goes back to evolution, right? Like, it's so funny. Men look for youthful women because it's like this innate feeling to reproduce. Women do this as well. We want to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. And I think another thing too that I've realized, well, before I go into that, but a lot of men, one thing I asked them on the Zoom is like, hey, like, if you had to rate yourself, would you say you're out of shape, average, or would you say you're pretty built? And a lot of guys that are like really heavy will be like, oh, I'm average. And I'm like, you're average? Or they'll be like, oh, I'm pretty in shape. And I'm like, are you
While they're
though?
eating
Like,
Cheetos.
yeah, like very not, when I think in shape, I think I can see some muscle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that, but I also think that has to do with porn. And obviously my thing is skewed, but like again, they're seeing these very, very, very average Joe blokes, even, borderline not attractive men with these beautiful women and they're simultaneously getting a dopamine hit off of watching that over time. Like we said, that's going to start changing your biochemistry, it's changing the way that you see the world, thinking that, well, that's normal, when reality it's not. And then they get upset when they don't have those things because, again, like with society, it's blasting in your face all the things you don't have, so it just amplifies it. And now, of course, I forgot the other thing I was going to say.
Well, let me. One of the way that we'll talk about this, because I think you have a lot to say about this. This is just why I wanted to have you on the show, because you have a lot of really amazing things to say about almost anything I can bring up, which I love. It's like the best thing ever. So the way that Zan Parian defines, and then I'll explain some of the things that I've been experiencing. The way he defines masculine beauty is devotion to a cause greater than themselves that ideally cannot be accomplished in a single lifetime. It's a very specific definition.
Wow.
That's the way he defines masculine beauty, right? Now, I have experienced this a lot in my life because I have devoted myself to a cause that I think I can handle it in one lifetime, but it's the rest of my life for sure. Like, I am committed for the rest of my life to
I
what
guess,
I'm doing.
well, really quick, I want to kind of define what they mean by in this lifetime. Does it mean like you might solve it in another life, or is it just like a general consensus adding to the narrative that is the general skew of men? Like,
No, it's not even necessarily like a spiritual comment. It's just this body, whether or not you're going to pick it up again, whether or not you believe that, whether or not it's just that you're not nervous about. I'm 38 years old. I just turned 38. I'm not nervous about dying before I accomplish what I have to do. I'm going to get the ball down the field as far as I can go. And I'm already at 38 years old. If I die at 40, 42, 48, 67, or 120,
right.
I'm already fine with that. Like, I'm going to just do what I can do, and I'm not going to obsess about it and like lose my mind over it. It's just, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to do it. I have a duty. It's a masculine duty. It's something that I care about. It's something that I find a lot of enjoyment in. I'm not doing it as some sort of obligation. Another thing that Zan talks about is the only true sin in this world is obligation. I don't have an obligation toward it at all whatsoever. It's a duty. It's a prideful, almost like when you see someone who's in the military and they just like love the fact that they're in the military and they just wear their medals with it's like God's gift to them on the mountaintop.
Valor.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like, that's the way I feel about what I do. Now from my own experiences, what I find absolutely fascinating is women love it. Like, they're just through the roof. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. But there's an interesting aspect that I've never seen anyone write about anywhere, which is women love it. But I do almost everything that I do for free. And that drives women absolutely. We're talking like mindless. Like, they're like, and I'm not even, that wasn't my intention. Like, I didn't like do this.
Wait, what do you mean? They love it or they hate it?
They love it. Like that is the thing. Because I've asked so many women. I'm like, what is it about what I do that you find so interesting and so attractive? Because I'm like actually very curious. And it's always the same answer. It's like, this is literally how they tell me. They go, you love what you do. You're helping all these people, this and that. And they go, and then they go, and you do it for free. And they just melt. Like, they literally turn into like water. Like, And it's like the fact that I do it for free, that's the part that they just think it's almost like I can see it in a woman's eyes. Like if I had to redefine masculine beauty, it would be a man who devotes himself to a cause greater than himself and then doesn't necessarily do it for money or for some sort of exchange, but he does it because it needs to be done regardless of literally anything in the whole world. That, from my own experience, that's the way I would almost redefine the definition, because the doing it for free thing, it's just like, I mean, they're almost in like tears. It's to them, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Like,
So it's funny that you say that. So this is what. So I've a lot of my teachings, coaching, what have you, is all from psychological studies, statistics, things like that. Like I don't, I want to cross check a lot of this stuff. Like, yeah, I feel some sort of way, but I don't want to be biased. Like I want to actually see where this stuff is coming from. So this little bit came from Huberman Lab, which is another podcast. Great podcast. But anyway, it's basically a guy brings on, people who have studied things, breaking in science or psychology or what have you, different topics. But anyway, they did one that was all about how men and women choose long-term or short-term partners. And the way that they do it, so a man's number one attraction trigger, right, is beauty, right? Looks, physical appearance. No surprise there, right? And now that's not to say that that's the only attraction trigger, but if attraction was a house, beauty is the door. Like the door gets you open,
oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah,
So what is women's? Women is a man's circumstance, right? It's not money, it's not looks, it's not, it's this man's circumstance. So the way that I define a man's circumstance is the way that the world interacts with him and the way that he interacts with the world. So what you're saying makes absolute sense. Because a lot of guys will be like, well, then it's just status. It's just status. And it's like, well, not necessarily, right? Or like money, right? Yes, a man's favorable circumstance could lead to things like status and money. But if that man is in a small community and that community looks towards him to help the community out, he gives back, he's capable man, he's actually like participating in the community somehow, and people know him and he's well liked and well respected, that man is also going to get a fuck ton of women. You're going to get a fuck ton of women because you're the way that you have an audience. People are listening to you. People are she's hearing you give advice to people who are writing notes down. Like they love that, right? Women love that. And they did this study where, they took this one guy and, walking down the street, and they had a group of girls. Okay, rate this guy on a scale of like 1 to 10, right? Okay, he's a 6.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, cool. Same guy later on in the experiment. Now he's talking on a podium. People are coming up to him, asking him stuff, trying to get his attention. All right, rate this guy 1 to 10. 9, 10, right? Same guy, looks the same. Now, the circumstance that he's in, people want his attention. He seems like a man and this goes back to evolution, right? So evolutionarily speaking, how dangerous would it be for women if we only went off of looks? Being the financially weaker and physically weaker species, if we only went off of looks, we could get left pregnant, we can get, attacked, whatever, right? But a man that is well liked and well respected by his community, by his peers, well, that's going to tell us from a short amount of time, this man's probably trustworthy. He's probably going to be a good guy, and my safety isn't going to be in jeopardy, right? So what you're saying makes absolute sense.
yeah. I had no idea. I mean, it just kind of happened, and I just noticed that asking. I was just like, and they were like, oh yeah, this is all great, but the fact that you do it for free, that just drives me crazy. It just drives me into a whole different. And I've heard it. I swear to God, I've heard it almost every
It
time I
also
ask.
reminds me of teachers, right? Because a lot of male teachers are married, and and it's so funny. I mean, obviously, I'm very biased because I get a lot of guys being like, "Women just want men for their money," da 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 da, and it's like, well, if that were the case, every guy in a marriage would be a multimillionaire, but they're not, right? You'll see most teachers that do not get paid nearly as much as they should, married, with wife and whatnot. So again, it's not all about money. How are you contributing back to your community? How are you contributing back to the society? That's a thing that's going to be as important to us as looks is to men.
You cut out there for a minute.
Oh, I said
At the end there.
the when it comes to like a man like giving back to his community, giving back to his peers, like
Okay.
making himself an important figure, big or small community, that's going to be as important to a woman as looks is to a man.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen tons of these Instagram accounts where they go on the street and they ask questions. I follow a lot of these. I think that's fascinating. And the amount of times that women are interviewed and they're dating multiple men and they're really only sleeping with one of them, and the one that they're sleeping with is the most broke of them all, it's unbelievable. I hear it so much, and it's like you're on the actual dating coach end, so you have men that actually pay you to figure this out. But on my end, everything that I see, all the survey information that I see, is kind of almost points towards like the opposite. It's almost like if a woman's dating multiple men, she's going to choose who she wants to have sex with, depending on what she wants. If she doesn't really, because they'll say like the guy I have sex with is the broke guy, and he's by far the best of anyone that I could have sex with. And then they're like, do you want a relationship with him? And they're like, absolutely fucking not in a fucking billion years. It's just good dick, basically. Just literally, that's what they say. And I'm always like, wow. And I've known friends of mine that are flat broke, and they just go out and they're very social and they want to have a good time. And they're not like totally crazy, but they're kind of more on that end of the spectrum, right?
Sure.
And women just love them, and they're just a great, fun, super fun time. And I have an old friend of mine who's Castilian Spanish, and he's got this accent, and he goes out and he's very, very friendly, very social. He winds up living with women. They give him cars, they give him money, and he just online gambles, and they love him, and he's broke. And I've seen it a million times. It's the broke guy with good dick, And it's like,
Listen, girls gotta eat.
no,
Girls
that's what I
gotta
mean.
eat.
That's what I mean. Like I hear this from you, and I'm just like, wow, like, because it's just not. But you're literally in this you're in this little bubble where you're talking to men all the time that are trying to solve an issue. They're paying to solve the issue. They're so it's like you're inside of this like very particular demographic all the time. So it's just fascinating to me to hear this, because it's like, from everything that I know and everything I believe, there couldn't be anything farther from the truth. I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, I think both of them are the exception, right? Because I think then you have to go ask yourself, okay, what types of girls are these videos interviewing? All right, probably girls in their early 20s, and when I was in my early 20s, I was doing the same damn thing, right?
yeah, it's a lot of like early
Yeah.
to mid 20s, like maybe
Exactly,
some.
they're not going
Yeah,
to
I guess
interview
you're
a
right.
40-year-old
Yeah,
because no one wants to watch that shit, unfortunately.
yeah,
So
I guess you're
yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, some of them, I guess, yeah, you're right. I guess you're right. Because another thing about it, the 20-year-olds say that. The 30-year-olds say something completely different. The 30-year-olds are always like,
Yeah, we're tired. The
I'm not,
30-year-olds are
I'm not,
tired.
what I hear from a lot of how old are you again, Jamie?
I'm 33.
33. So what I hear from a lot of the stuff that I see on the 30-year-olds is, I'm tired of dating boys. I'm ready to date a man. I hear that a lot.
It's true.
And that's an interesting subject, because it's like, okay, if that's true, which these women are very serious when they say it, what is the definition of boy? What is the definition of man? And what is the delineating, like, from your opinion, what is
The
the difference between
word-
a boy and a man?
The word that comes to mind when you ask me that is capable. Is this man capable? So right off the bat, can he cook and clean without having to be asked? Because the reason why, and it's lots of people like to argue with me on the internet, but facts are facts. The reason
I hate
why,
it, by the way.
I know,
absolutely
I know,
fucking
you've come
hate
in.
it. I get
They
so
hate
pissed.
me. It's so funny.
It's
They
like
love me.
it's one
Yeah.
of the reasons why, like, I literally can't. Like, I love your shit so much, but I open up the comments and, like, I'm just like, bro, like, I'd be blocking all these motherfuckers. Like, there's no way.
No, I mean, any publicity is good publicity. But it's funny. They hate me in the comments and they love me in the DMs where they can't be seen. It's like it's the shame thing. Get oh, God forbid you get a bomb dating advice from a girl. But anyway,
I'm like a proud Jamie simp. Like I'm over here like fuck yeah, dude. Like I love this woman. Like I'll wear a badge. I'll pay for everything. We'll go out. I'll pay for everything. Like
I'll
fuck
get
yeah,
more
bro.
100,000
Fuck
followers. I'll
yeah.
start making a little thing, Jamie Simps, right there. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
fuck yeah. I'm down, dude. I'll do it. I'm
You're like
down.
the
I'm
president
number
of the
one
fan
fan.
club.
Give me like a foam finger. Like yeah, number one motherfucker, Jamie Day. Seriously,
That's
I'm all about
awesome.
it.
That's amazing. No, but what was I gonna say again? Damn it! I always
The
do this.
definition of boy to man, and
Oh,
then you're
capable.
talking about a
So,
man
okay.
and capable.
So yeah, divorce. I mean, listen, like a lot of the reasons women don't get divorced to get paid. You know how hard it is to get child support. You know how hard, like lots of the statistics are out there. Like the fact that very tough. But either way, women take on a harder load when they're in long-term relationships, and that's the nuts and bolts of it, right? I think things are changing, but the way that it is right now, they do. You can't argue with the facts, right? So in this country, women are supposed to parent as if they don't have work, and work as if they're not a parent. Men haven't really changed that much. Their work-life balance hasn't changed as much. When a house is dirty and someone comes into the house, who are they going to look to? Like, why is this not clean? They're going to look to the husband? No, they're probably going to look to the wife. Why? It kind of always defaults still to the woman. And they've shown, studies have shown, there was a study that came out, I think, a year or 2 years ago, a direct correlation between when a woman looks at her man like a dependent, like his mommy, there is a dead bedroom. The more that she has to cook
Interesting.
and clean for you, tell you what to do, wanting you to do more, there's like a direct relationship to the amount of times that you're having sex with that person. So in that, I think when women are saying like, my definition for me being Jamie Date is a little bit different. We can get into that next, but like a boy to man, like I think women just want a man that's like capable, that can do these things, as well as being a man also is being in control of his emotions, being able to keep his emotions in check. That doesn't mean to like ignore them or bury them or hide them, but in times of conflict, in times of tough conversations, is he the guy that's punching holes in the wall? Is he the guy that's, a loose cannon that's screaming? Is he the guy that's, gaslighting or just not even trying to hear what she has to say, but being like, I'm right because you're crazy? You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of, I want to be able to have tough conversations with you productively. That's another way of saying like a boy to a man. Like I want like, and John Vervaeke, who's a great philosopher, author. He was on he actually has worked with Jordan Peterson. Like he defines wisdom as being able to take on new information, digesting it, and changing track because you're realizing that you didn't realize this before, and now you think it's a better way of thinking or doing or whatever, right? Another way of saying this is wisdom equals belief plus doubt. So you can believe whatever it is that you believe, but never believe something 100% because you could always be wrong. You don't know everything, right? It's the arrogance. So at the end of the day, if a woman is saying, "Hey, listen, like I don't like this, and this, like this is really bothering me," is it how defensive are you getting, or can you just breathe through the emotions and be like, "Okay, help me understand why you're saying that," right? That because I'll tell you this. So this comes from my own life. One of the most attractive things a man's ever done, not in the bedroom, not on a date, not was the way that we fought. I was mad about something. I can't even tell you what I was mad about. I was like, like I'm fine, like doing that thing, right? And he's like, no, come sit down. We're not leaving this table until you tell me. And he wasn't mad. He was so, and women mirror energy. It calmed me down. He gave me a platform. He asked me why, he put an environment to where I felt comfortable to tell him like, well, this was really bothering me. Da, da, da. We talked about it, came to a conclusion. He's like, all right, let's go get ice cream. And I was like, whoa, and I'm like, take my panties while you're at it. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. And so that's that healthy masculinity where you can keep your emotions in check and not rage blast everywhere, right? Because unfortunately this country has done a really shitty job at explaining to men or teaching men, directly or indirectly, that the only feelings that they're allowed to feel are anger and sadness. So extrapolate that, years and years and years. Now the only feeling that they're allowed to feel, not even sadness, but just anger. Okay, well now they're just angry all the time because it's the only emotion they have any exercise in feeling. So now it's like, it's funny. I always talk about in my calls, like, how are you feeling? And it's like, they can't give me feeling words. They don't know what those are. It's only like mad or bad. Like that's the only words that they know. And so in that, I think that's really what women in their 30s are just wanting. They want a man that can be a real partner for every sense of the word. And they don't have to feel like they're a mom, and they can still feel like they're sexy again. They're someone's partner again. Because there's a great, I'm on a tangent here, but there's a great book by Esther Perel, and is it Mating in Captivity, or is it the other one? I can't remember, but where she talks about, it's Rethinking Infidelity. And like, it really is a really good book. It made me reshape infidelity. Like, yes, infidelity is wrong for sure, but is it always out? Like, is it wild, the fact that someone cheated? Like, let's actually look at it like individual cases. So what she had found, one of the big ones was women who are moms that have been in a relationship for a long time, right? And they're just mom now. Like, their whole identity is, I'm mom. I'm cleaning up shit out of diapers. I'm cleaning up vomit. I'm waking them up. I'm doing the lunch. Like, I don't even, like, I have no time to take a shower. Like, I'm mom, right? Over the years, the man doesn't really see her as a sexual being. She doesn't really doesn't really pay attention to her or see her as he once did. So all of a sudden, she meets a man, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a coworker, that actually starts making her feel like she's not mom and she's actually Amanda or whoever, who she is, a sexual being again. She's going to scratch that itch. Is it that crazy that she had done that? Maybe she had tried to ignite something with it. But so it's just like one of those things where it's like, I don't want to feel like I have to be mom all the time.
This is such an interesting thing. When I was doing my training with the Amirati with Zan, I did the Essentials, which was like a 90-day program, and then I did a mastery program with Zan personally. Actually, it was a small handful of us, and we had to do a pre-interview, and I told him about my experiences with his work, and he wanted me to come into the program, and I said, "Oh God, definitely."
Nice.
And he's absolutely incredible. And one of the things he has us read, and he says right in the mastery program, he's like, "I don't really read anybody else's books. I learned at the feet of women." And I would be with women, and I would ask women, and I would talk to women, and I would want women, and I would survey women, and that's, I learned everything at the feet of women, and I will never and have never and have no interest in learning anything from any other source. And he's very clear about that. He's like, if I can't go to a woman and ask her directly the information that I want, I don't need it, I don't want it, it's not, So, but there's only one book he ever had us read, and it's actually two books, but it's by Michelle Langley. It's two books called Women's Infidelity. And they're books about women. And so she's like a professional therapist, and she was a professional therapist for women experiencing infidelity. And they're very short books. They're like very, very tiny. There's two of them, Women's Infidelity 1, Women's Infidelity 2, and there's a lot of information in there, like 70% of all divorce is initiated by the woman. And one of the things that she talks about in the book that I thought was so fascinating is that women have these two ribbons, these two lines, these two strings that come out. One is passion and one is security. And she was saying that all these women that are experiencing infidelity, every woman, pretty much, she's talking about almost every woman she's ever talked to, it's a binary, single, like point, and that point moves from one end to the other, and it's like they're always sacrificing one for the other, and they're always seesawing back and forth and back and forth, and they have extreme passion, and they're like, oh, it's too crazy, and they want security, and then they seesaw over on this side, and what these women are looking for, they're looking for both, or they've been on one end for too long, and they start to long for the other end of the spectrum. And the women that are ultra secure and they have zero passion, they're always gonna they need that. They absolutely it's like eating or breathing. It's like getting mad at somebody because they're breathing. And she's like, and then what happens is she talks about a lot in these books. She talks about the reason why infidelity is such a weird kind of nasty situation, and this I found this to be absolutely fascinating, is that when a woman cheats with her husband, or in this case it's always the husband, right? The only person in her whole life that she can be completely and totally honest with is the person she's cheating with. And the reason why is because the largest transgression in her life, both parties are aware of. So every other transgression relative to that transgression is insignificant. It could be anything. It could be everything is insignificant in that relationship. So what happens is, because every single transgression in all of life, I stole this, I hit someone with my car, anything, is not as crazy and as large as the infidelity itself, relative. The communication between the person, the woman and the person that they're cheating with gets massive, so big that they've never experienced anything like it before, because what is there you can't talk about? You could talk about anything because the infidelity itself is the largest transgression they could ever talk about anywhere else.
Right.
And it's totally open. So what happens is they experience this spiritual, out of body, incredible connection with someone, because there's absolutely nothing they couldn't talk about to that person, because relative to the transgression, it's all insignificant. So they wind up in this like passion situation like they've never, ever, ever experienced. And it's such a weird situation, because if you didn't have the infidelity to relate all other transgressions to in the mind, would the communication be that high? And there's so many women that she's interviewing where they're always saying the same thing. I can say anything. I could do anything. There is nothing's off limits. All communication is wide open, because what's worse than what we're doing? It's like, it's such a fascinating, totally wild. It's like the craziest thing I've ever read in my life. I was like, oh my God, that's wild, right? So
let me ask you this. Who do you think cheats more, men or women?
the I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It's not like I have an opinion on that, or really, I mean, who knows? I don't think it's, but I will say this. I think that women that cheat are going to be a lot more open communicatively than a man that cheats. And I think that might be why.
Open to the person that she's cheating with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like,
for sure.
It's going to be
I
like.
think it's for the same reason. I think men cheat opportunistically. But women have.
Men cheat. They don't want to talk about. When men cheat, I am assuming, they don't want to talk. It's just like, they want to fucking get out of there.
It's purely a physical. I mean, a lot of the time it's purely a physical thing. So it's like, why talk? We're just being, get it in.
Yeah, it's like, I'm here to get this done and then peace out.
Right?
Like, let's go to the motel. You know what I mean?
Cheat. I think women have more of an ability to cheat. They have more opportunities to cheat. Like, you go on a fucking dating app, I got 50 likes within the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But again, because of that attraction trigger, it's so much more for a woman to get turned on that it's a harder barrier to cross. So it's interesting. It's like men want it more, but women can get it easier, but men it's harder to get, and women, it takes more for them to actually submit, to actually do it, right?
Well, that's why I wanted to talk. That's exactly why I wanted to talk about this, because it's like scarcity and abundance. It really is. It's an economic. Not to say that it's unemotional, but it even emotions themselves can be considered a currency. It's an economic conversation. It's an economic conversation of men can't get it, so they want it, and it's an economic conversation of that of which is scarce is valuable, and it's an economic situation where a woman can put her hair in a bun and put on sweatpants and walk into the street, and it's she's going to get accosted by men, and it's so accessible. I mean, depending on the woman, obviously, and depending on the location, but only a very, 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 very small percentage of men in their entire lifetimes. you've probably read about this. Do you know how many times men are complimented by women in an entire lifetime?
Not enough. Not enough. I know this actually, and
It's like
actually,
it's like less than 10. It's like maybe not. I mean, take the family out, and it has, if it's non-familial, I mean, you're looking at
I read this on Reddit like months ago, maybe even a year ago. That was like, men, when's the last time you've been complimented? And like the things that I saw broke my heart. Like one of them was like,
Yeah.
I was complimented 7 years ago on my outfit, and I still reflect on it today, and I'm like, damn. And it's funny, and I carried that with me, and now I'm very cognizant. I always like to compliment men, and I do find that it really like lights up their day, and yeah, I've read
Yeah,
this.
because it's so scarce. Again, it comes down to it's so scarce. I mean, you could almost go so far as to say, is sex the ultimate compliment? You could almost go so far as to say, are men looking for compliments, and is sex considered a compliment?
Ooh, that's a really good one. That's an interesting thought experiment.
See?
Yeah, yeah,
Like let's say you were to do an experiment and you were to take a man and you were to compliment him often. Like just you could even set it up as like a thing, and you could say like I'm gonna hang out with you, we're gonna do videos, and I'm going to, and it's a guy who doesn't get laid, he's very horny, he's all fucked up looking at porn, and all you do is just compliment him in like realistic ways, like quite often, and it'd be an interesting thing. I'd be like, would that sexual franticness reduce from that activity?
I think if it was just by one person over a course of a day, no. But if we had plants, like, girls throughout were complimenting him throughout his day, hired actors, right? Like in the grocery store and this, I think that would maybe have a bigger impact. That's a really interesting, but then of course he'd have to find out that it was all fake, and I would probably crush him. But no,
What if it
that is.
wasn't? What if it? I mean, because I mean, we beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, really. I mean, and I don't know what experiences you've had, but I've gone down this rabbit hole for quite a long time, as you have in different areas. So we have different teachings and that kind of thing. But one of the things that I always found really fascinating is, and I would have to agree with this. It's kind of a hard thing to even talk about. Men, yes, we are attracted by beauty. Beauty is huge. It's the big thing. It's that when we look at someone, and it's that vision. It's that. But I always wanted to find out, what does it mean? Is it form? Is it certain form? Is it color? But the thing is that I don't think it is any of those things. I think it's actually motion.
Beauty?
I think the definition of the term beauty in a woman, from the perspective of a man, without really knowing it, is the way that a woman uses motion, the way that she moves her body. Because women are they're sort of like painters on the canvas of the physical universe. They're not very static or stationary. Men are more static or stationary when it comes to body motion. Women are not. Women are they move their hair, they move their neck, they shift, they sort of have this like kind of water-like flow to them. And it's funny because if you take even like Russian women, because you could take Russian women and you could say, well, they're a little bit more stoic. Not really. They're just more subtle. They use motions, but it's like they're very tiny and they're very, very calculated. So like an American woman will flourish like this, right? Whereas a Russian woman will flourish like this, and it'll be more like
Subtle. Yeah, I can see
it's
that.
almost like a sniper, right? Russian women are like fucking snipers, right? And I think it's a fascinating subject personally. I think that the women's use of motion, I think if more men were to kind of look at this, because I've spent a lot of time looking at this, I think that's actually what men find beautiful, because it's not the shape of the breast, the shape of the ass. It's the fact that it's in motion, and the woman knows that it's in motion, and she uses that motion in a way that is It's beautiful, and yeah, it's form, but like you take a woman and she walks like a man, she can look good, and a guy will be like, oh yeah, she looks good. But you can take a woman who doesn't look all that formally, but she walks like she's the baddest bitch in town, and all the guys are, the construction workers are falling off the fucking side of the building practically. You know what I mean? So I think if I had to define female beauty, I would say it's the communication that a woman exudes via body motion. I know that sounds really specific.
No, no, no. I actually like this. I'll raise you one. Could it be wild to say that I think that a man's version of beauty, if woman's is motion, then his is words or the way that he speaks? Because that I think is very erotic. When a man, even just the way that, again, going back to circumstance, like the way that the man interacts with the world and the way that the world interacts with him, like how he's able to navigate a conversation, how he's able to navigate, and I don't necessarily mean like extroverted or introverted, because I think introverts can be just as sexy as extroverts can, but it's the way in which they do, that I think is very pulling as a woman.
When you say the usage of words, in what way are you referring to? Like them telling you what they want in an extremely direct way, or are you saying?
I mean, it could be anything, right? Just like you said with motion, like walking into a room or you know what I mean, flicking her hair, like just the way the man chooses his words, and the way that the tonality that he uses those words with, I think can also be very beautiful. Because I think it's that also, it's like going back to that leading, like when a man leads the interaction, right? That's so erotic for us, that we find so compelling, and it goes back to that masculine energy of like, okay, as a woman, I can kind of sit back and be a willing participant in whatever this is as you curate it. You know what I mean? And I think that words can be very sexy when when a man does them, when a uses them and communicates well. It's like that is very dominant. That is very sexy as compared to like women in motion.
It's interesting because if that goes back to what you said earlier. If a guy only knows two terms, bad and sad, he's not going to be very good with his words. He's going to be very bad with his words. He's not going to know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, what's red, what's blue. He's going to be colorblind and.
Yep.
Yep.
It's very true.
Because our whole life we're told. I mean, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from like
cornfields.
And I'll tell you right now, you openly exude any sort of, and you're just gay. You're liable to get. God knows what's going to happen to you. You're liable to get spanked and the belt. You're liable to get the belt. I mean, if you were like a little bitch, like one too many times, I mean, you're liable to get the belt where I'm from. So the thing is that it's you're talking about these men and they're so out of touch and they only know these two terms and they don't even know what that means. And it's so funny. I was talking to somebody. I think I was talking to a girl like a week ago or something like that. And we were talking about this, and it was like, everyone says that men are so simple. Men are so simple. Men are so simple. Maybe the actual problem is that men are illiterate in terms of their own emotions and their own situation, that they can't talk about it much, so it seems simple because there's not much to say. Because
also,
I
men
was
are
like
very,
that.
Yeah.
I was
they
like
talk
that
about
my
this
whole
in
life.
What's it called? No More Mr. Nice Guy, which is a great book.
I love it.
They talk about, yeah, I love it, that book.
Robert Glover.
Yeah, he's great. And what he talks about is, men, they just want to keep the peace so much that they'll bury their own needs and wants. And again, extrapolate that over years. Well, now you don't have any practice talking your needs and wants. So how the hell are you going to learn how to do that? So that's one of the things that I go over in my coaching program is being able to communicate, like what actually communicating is, like being able to not only know what you're going to say, what your boundaries actually are, but how to communicate them in a way that exudes attraction, that is actually going to amplify attraction and not detract it, right? Because again, going back to like the sexiest thing a man ever did for me, was being able, like, was in an argument and being able to like calm me, get me to say what he wants, or get me to say what I want, get him to say what he wants, what he needs, call to action, and then we're good. Like, it was just like an amazing moment that I was like, I was like, marry me. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a hot moment. So it's like, when a man is able to do it, it's such a secret weapon.
So let me ask you this, because this goes into scarcity and abundance.
Wait, I do have. I have a. Okay, I want to pause for a second. So I know you don't edit these. Maybe edit this one out. So I have a call at 6, but it's a group call. So I kind of have this idea that maybe I bring the call to listen to the rest of this podcast, or do we not have that much? Like, how do you want to do it?
I could probably do that. Okay, so we're back. This is a part 2 with Jamie Date. She had a call, but we went ahead and just moved her call onto this call because it's such a good quick call we're having. So we've got an audience now for part 2. And one of the things I wanted to say about all this, to tie it into what a lot of my audience is going to be thinking with this, because my audience isn't directly associated with all this, but it's indirectly, and they need to realize that it actually is direct. That's kind of the disconnect, right? So with a lot of the litigation and stuff like that we're getting into, and a lot of the things that we're going with this, is like, you can see that Jamie asks a lot of questions, I ask a lot of questions, and that's really the way to get compliance in a legal environment. Is that it's just like when you litigate against somebody and then you go into discovery. All discovery is just asking questions and getting information, right? So it's the same thing. You're doing the same thing. It's a lot more interrogatory when it comes to legal, but this whole like asking questions and getting answers and controlling the conversation through the use of questions, because you're actually interested in the answers, is actually really, really important. And then you wind up with a lot of information like what Jamie has, and you can kind of put it together in sort of like a powerful matrix of information, and you can control your environment better. And
it's also true for sales, too.
You what? Yeah. It's totally for sales. Oh yeah, totally. It's like, if I'm sitting in front of you, you know, a lot of people are how do I sell this? How do I sell this? How do I sell this in the back of their head, which is the same as how do I fuck her? How do I fuck her? How do I fuck her? And it's gross. It's icky. And even guys don't realize it, but even guys pick up on it. You know, everybody picks up on it, whether you realize it or not. Doesn't matter how shut off you are. If a dude goes into a car dealership and they're just, how do I fuck this dude? Which means, how do I sell the car? How do I sell the car? How do I sell the car? The guy is just not into it.
Same thing with women and dating.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's these things are all a lot deeper than people think, and they're all a lot more related than people think. And I think that's a really important conversation, because everyone teaches these things as though there's these different specific, it's like in sales, it's like closing techniques. It's like, there's not a fucking closing technique. It's I ask you a bunch of questions. How long have you been single? What happened? You were divorced. When were you divorced? Are you on online dating platforms? What online dating platforms are you on? How long have you been doing that? How many dates do you go on? Send me pictures of the people that you're dating. This girl, what did you like about her? What didn't you like about her? What happened? This girl, what did you like about her? What didn't you like about her? What happened? This girl, what did you like about her? Did you really, did you really want to go out with this girl, or did you just go out with her because you were lonely and horny and it was a Saturday night and you're just fucked in the head? Like, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. And if you do that for 20 fucking minutes, what is there to fucking sell? Mm-hmm. It's like, at that point, it's like I have something that can really help you, or maybe I don't. I turn people away all the time. I love turning people away. It's like a sexual experience.
I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm very lucky to get to pick and choose, and I just don't think this is right for you.
Yeah. So it's also in my platform, we call it the trustee beneficiary relationship. So in trust law, which is the way trusts and stuff like that are established, there's the trustee, which is the person who's responsible for administering the estate, and there's the beneficiary. The beneficiary literally just benefits. They don't do anything. A lot of times children are beneficiaries of a trust, and the children are benefited and they get their education paid for, and there's like certain rules and laws in the trust of they get this much for education, they get this much for their car, they get this much for food, and the trustee administers and makes sure that they're getting their food, they're getting their car, they're getting their education to that level and no farther. And that's essentially, it's that simple. And we just communicated as the trustee beneficiary relationship. So it's either if I'm the trustee and they're the beneficiary, I have a responsibility to make sure they're benefiting, right? And it's like, even in a sales situation where you're asking the guy all these questions, like from your perspective, you're asking these men all these questions, right? I know you do this because you did it to me. It's hilarious. So you're getting them. I mean, if you think about it, it's a therapy action too, because it's like, look, bitch, look, bitch, look at your situation, look at your life, look at your mind, look at your thoughts. Tell me, motherfucker, tell me. You don't tell anybody. You never look. Look and tell me, look and tell me, look and tell me. And they're like, holy shit. And it's like, they're looking and they're telling you and they're looking and I've never told anyone this. And they're like coming out of this fucking nightmare. And it's like the sales cycle itself can be really, really beautiful. And you look at all the sales technology out there. I personally, and this is going to be a very strong word because I really believe this, I think most sales technology is literally rape. Just to be very clear. I think it's disgusting. I think it's pathetic. It's sold as this like masculine, dominating warrior-like foray into some sort of Genghis Khan conquering. I think that's dumb. I think it's stupid. And I think almost everything I've ever read on sales is just terrible, personally.
Oh God, I can show you some better ones. But I mean, I think for me, like, it's one thing to have, like, it's one thing, you know, back in my early days, like, I thought it was like a presentation. I'm just presenting myself. And it relies to dating because a lot of guys are like, I'm presenting, right? When in reality, what you want is in sales, and in this case, in sales, it's like you're getting them to hear themselves say their problem enough times in enough different ways for them to be like, oh, fuck, you know what? I got to do something. And then the only thing holding them back at that point is fear if it doesn't work. But it's already not working. You know what I mean? Like, never before have you had this thing. Now, with women, when it comes to, like, how to actually, you know, go about having a conversation, now, obviously, question stacking isn't, you know, the best way of going because now it's going to feel like an interview.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But the difference is this, is with women, it doesn't, like, when a man comes with that same authority, like when it's sales, like the shift, the mindset shift that I had to have is like, oh, I'm not trying to get their business. I'm trying to decide if I even want to work with them. Like, now I'm the authority. And it's the same thing in dating. It's like with women, or I'm sorry, with men, like, they're like, oh, I want to say and do all the things that I think that she wants me to do and say. The mindset shift have to be, no, I got to figure out if she's even good, like right for me. I don't want to say good enough, but good enough for me, like what I'm looking for. And once that mindset shift happens, so many things start to fall into place.
Yeah, and you say question stacking. It's such a funny thing. I haven't thought about that in so long. And I would define question stacking as asking questions because you think you're supposed to. Because the thing is that if I ask you a bunch of questions...
That's really good. I'm going to steal that, actually. That's a really good definition.
Take it. It's yours. It's the least I could do. Take everything. Steal everything from me. I don't care. Steal everything I say. Go run off into the sunset, and I'll be so happy that you did.
The gigantic pickle. Yes.
Just tell everyone that I fucking smell with my fucking mouth. You know what I mean? Which
I will. That's amazing.
So
asking questions because
I'll question stack, bro. I'll question stack all fucking day long, and you will fucking love it. And the reason why is because I'm really interested, and I think it's fucking beautiful what you're telling me. Like, if I ask you, what do you do? I paint. Well, fucking dude, show me some paintings. Holy shit, this is beautiful. You do this? How long did it take you to do this? You see, it's not. I'm not sitting there like, what do I say? How do I fuck her? What do I do? How does she get me to like me? Question stack, right? But I'm asking. And again, this goes back to my demographic and my people too. It's like when you're asking these questions and you're doing these interrogatories, which is a horrible word in the dating world. I would never use that word in the dating world, but
interrogatories like negs?
Interrogatories. No, like in
Oh,
law, interrogatory is literally just a whole fuckload of questions and you have to answer them under oath. It's like, but it's like
oh, I see, I see, I see.
there's no like, there's no
What's your
like,
body
there's
count? I'm just
it's
kidding.
like, yeah, it's almost like that, right? So in dating, it would be the same idea, but it's like, are you asking them because you think you're supposed to, or are you? And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this, I will tell you this, as the man, as the one who's supposed to be driving the conversation, I don't know how many people tell you this, but I still have this kind of as an issue, even to this day. You do feel as the man, you're driving the interaction, and if there's dead air, you're like, fuck, I'm supposed to like, you feel kind of like you're on stage a little bit, and like you're the host, and like if there's nothing going on and there's dead air, like you're the one who has to step up and be the host and bring it back online. And I feel like that, to me, that's where the question stacking can get a little bit funky, because you wind up question stacking as a way to just fill in dead air on a radio station. And I do that still even to this day, and I like fuck. I'll notice it and I'll curb it, but it's like we're the ones that are supposed to be driving the conversation. But if we don't really know what to say, or we don't really have anything to say, there's times I don't have something to say every single second of every
Right.
single interaction. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a bit of a performance for us. I think even me, I still deal with this. So what would you have to say about that and how it relates to
Yeah, so I
dating?
think that so sometimes, honestly, when guys come to me and they're like, "Well, I always run out of things to say. I never know what to say," right? Sometimes I'm like, maybe you don't actually have anything to say. What are you doing? Who are you hanging out with? Where are you going? If it's the same places, if it's the same people, it's doing the same things, of course you're not going to have anything to talk about because there's no novelty, there's no nothing. You know what I mean? Especially guys too, and this is such a thing with men that I see. They like establish the same five friends since when they're in elementary school, and like they don't branch out anymore. Like they're like, I'm good, I don't need any more friends. And it's like if you've done that for so long, of course you're not going to have anything new experiences to talk about. So you have to shake things up. You have to do new things. You have to go to new places, yeah, because that is going to introduce you not only to new experiences but also new people that have something funny to say. Like one of my other things is like hang out with funnier people, hang out with really good storytellers, and literally use our biology for your favor. We learn human interaction from copying, from literally modeling off of other people, right? I didn't come out the womb like this. You didn't come out the womb like that. So what I did, like, there was this meme that was a while ago, and it was like, some girl said that I was like the coolest girl she's ever met. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm not the coolest girl. I'm the culmination of the 5 coolest girls I've ever met. And it's so true. It's like I am the culmination of like the 10 coolest people I've ever met. Like I've just like taken little bits and pieces, and we all have. You know what I mean? Like, and if that's fake, then I'm fake. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I don't think so, because I think when you have enough people around you, you can cultivate this energy that you want to cultivate because you've seen examples previously, and that's how human behavior works. So, and the other thing too is, a lot of people who struggle with running out of things to say when it comes to women or what have you, is the lack of creativity. And so I actually learned this from what is that Netflix show that Explained, when they did a whole series on the mind. It was, I love that series. Anyway, where they did creativity, and they said like creativity is really dissected from 2 parts of the brain, right? One part is like the creative ideas, where you're able to just come up with random stuff constantly, right? It's just like when you give a child a drum set, what do? They just start banging on it. They're experimenting. They're little scientists. They just want to like do it all at once. Then there's this other part of your brain that judges it. That sounds good. That doesn't sound good. That looks good. That doesn't look good. And when you're a kid, you don't have that judger because you don't know what's good or what's bad. Over time, with enough, experience and shame and, like other things that kind of show you, okay, maybe you're not this or you are this or other people are like that, right? That judger gets bigger. And what happens with people who are perfectionists, people who are the ones that are like, I'm running out of things to say, almost always they're also perfectionists because they're too afraid to say the wrong thing, right? They have this like overacting judger that prevents the creative idea part of their brain to flourish. So now you have this dilemma where you have to figure out, okay, how can I calm my judger and let my creative ideas flow? Well, that's also going to take part in how what I call like sharpening your saw, which is, how are you, you know, uh, interacting with yourself physically? Are you working out? Are you, eating right? These things like, meditation, journaling, these things, it gets you out of your brain. It releases that judger part where you're allowing the more creative ideas to flow because you're not trying to hide so many parts of yourself because you have creative outlets to do those things in other capacities. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Yeah.
very, it's a, when you said that, because I know you get a lot of people telling you a lot of things, and I'm a word freak. I mean, on my platform, it's like, what is the definition of literally every single word everywhere? And we're constantly talking about the definitions of words. And one of the things that is really interesting when it comes to words in the mind is it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you said that sentence, you said, I never know what to say to a woman. That if that is the wording that you're hearing, if it's that exact wording, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy of like complete destitute. That's like pestilence level.
Well, you know what I love? I heard this recently. Be careful what you say. Words are spells. That's why we call it spelling.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. But the thing is that if you say that enough times, you say it to Jamie enough times, I never it's like, well, hold on a second there, bucko. You know what I mean? Are you telling yourself that all the time? You know what I mean? Because the thing
Yeah.
is that I remember I read a book one time. I read thousands of books, and one of the books I read was a book called How to Argue and Win Every Time by a guy named Jerry Spence, which is like mind-blowing book. I mean, holy Jesus. And one of the things he says in that book is, imagine trying to explain driving to an alien race. And it's like, and he goes on for like 2 pages, and it's like this. It's like this mass, this 3,700-pound mass of plastic and metal, and it has this glass shield that you're supposed to look through, and it has these molded rubber circles that are about a foot and a half wide on each of the 4 areas of the car. And then you have this big metal thing. It's like this cube that's underneath in the front of the car, inside of the plastic and the metal container. And what it does is it takes this liquid, which is explosive as fuck, and it injects this fluid into this bottom part of this engine, and then it squeezes this fluid, and then there's this little thing that creates a spark, and then there's an explosion. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of explosions every single minute. And then those explosions create this explosive force, and then there's these gears that move this explosive force into the back of the vehicle, and then that explosive force is turned into a torque or motion force for the tires that move this vehicle. This vehicle is on these springs, essentially, that go up and down, and this vehicle is hurling down this concrete pad, and there's these like concrete barriers, and there's this wheel, and there's these things that you press like this, and you're supposed to, and you're going like 80 miles an hour, which let's say they didn't understand what that was. You're going, like basically you're flying, essentially. You're going pretty fast,
Right.
to the point where and there's all these other people in the same kinds of machines, and they're all going like this, and nobody really knows a whole lot about the machine. Very few people that are there know anything about the machine, and it's like,
Right.
They're like, what the fuck are you people doing? You people are get away from me. You're insane. What the fuck are you doing on your planet? You are fucking psychotic. What are you people doing? And it's like, I have nothing to say. Imagine you can explain anything in some crazy way. You could explain playing pool. You know, you have this piece of wood and it comes up and there's this platform and there's this like kind of fuzzy shit on it.
Right.
And it's like, and there's these balls and they're sort of, they almost feel like metal or glass. They're kind of like somewhere in the middle between metal or
right. And so much of what it is like the tone of what you're saying is so captivating. Whereas when you are too busy judging whether or not she likes you or not, it's robbing you of being as passionate with the way that you're saying the things, because it's being overshadowed by, does she like me? Does she not like me? Am I being interesting? Am I not being interesting? And so by relinquishing yourself of that judgment, you're able now to further connect. And another really good way of connecting and doing that is not only explaining what's happening in your life, like driving or playing pool or whatever, but imagining what she must feel like in her life, like with her job, you know, like, so for example, you know, if she's a teacher, right? You'd be like, oh my God, how afraid are you for the future? Right? Like, and then you can actually put yourself into that. Like, you know, I bet that you see this and I, you know, I wonder if how many people like come up to you because you seem like a really nice person. So like people will probably come to you with like their problems and stuff. Oh, I could tell if that, like you're actually putting yourself in her scenario. She now feels seen. And the greatest part is it doesn't really matter if you're right or wrong, because if you're wrong, she's going to tell you, so you're still in a conversation. If you're right, she's going to be like, holy shit, how'd you know? You know what I mean? Like I'll never forget this one time when I was on a date. I was on a date with this guy, and he was like, I told him, I was like, listen, like I'm a dating coach for men, but don't be weird. That's always what I say, because guys get real fucking weird as soon as they find out I'm a dating coach for men. But he literally kept his cool. He's like, yeah, no, totally. I bet dating is really interesting for you. And I was like, yeah, totally. He goes, yeah, I know. I bet it freaks a lot of guys out. And I was like, yeah, it does. And he goes, no, but you know what? You know why you love it though? And I go, why? He goes, because it weeds out the weak ones. And I was like, fuck, yes, it does. Like, it's so true. But it was like, like the way that he's like, you know, I know you. Blah. And I was like, ah. Like that. It's such, and that's like that intimate vibe. That's that intimate connection that really draws like you close. And that's the connection that we just want to be seen. We want to be seen, and we want to be felt, and we want to be heard. And so like when a guy to women like is able to just do that and dish it out, it's like, blah, yes, exactly. And that's what we're all after. You know, and that's the masculine energy that we were talking about before, where it's just like that confidence of just knowing, like that unapologetically yourself. Like, I'm just going to say this. I could be right. I could be wrong, but this is what I think. And I have good reason to think everything that I think, you know, and this is how it is. And that's that sexy confidence that's so like compelling. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting conversation. It's like, well, how do you break that internalization, self-focus, introversion? I guess you could call it toxic introversion, because you have introverted, which can be a good thing or whatever, just a trait, and then you have introverted, which can be like what would be considered toxic, which is where you're constantly in your own mind just running in circles and you're basically sweating. Which is not good. It's really not very productive of anything. I mean, how do you?
I have some tactics that'll help. So this is where you can use your biochemistry in your favor, right? So first, if you're ever in a situation, and I hope every guy is listening out here, kind of come back to me if you're, you know, got distracted. But if you're ever in a situation where you're like, what am I going to say? Especially talking to beautiful women, right? You're like, fuck, you know, I really want to impress her, whatever. Belly breaths. 3 belly breaths. Well, because breathing is one of, and it sounds so stupid. You're like, really, Jamie? Like breathing? Cool. Like, but no. Breathing is one of those rare things where you can focus on it, but still not sacrifice any other like you can still be 100% focused on whatever else you're doing, right? So breathing allows for that motion where you're calming your nervous system, but your brain is still with whatever she's talking about. The second thing is paying attention to the bottoms of your feet. It's so weird, but it's one of those things that you actually start grounding yourself. So even when you're in time, I mean, I'm not sure, I'm just guessing with your platform, even times of litigation where you're starting to get rattled
It's
up,
super
right?
high pressure. Like
Super high pressure,
it's very
grounding
similar
yourself.
to dating. Honestly, it's
Right.
practically the same thing, which is why I'm having this conversation. Yeah,
Yeah,
continue.
yeah. No, so pay attention to the bottoms of your feet. And put your focus there. It grounds you so you're able to be more present. And when you're able to be more present, you're going to, it's just that much more easier to find the best solution, right? Which could be what to say and the next thing that you're going to say to contribute to the conversation, whether it be for dating or litigation or whatever the fuck. Right.
Yeah.
So there are a few tricks that you can use that help with things like that, just physical things.
Something that I did years ago, which it's craziness. I'm not even going to necessarily recommend it, but I will say that so in 2021, and this became my whole brand. Like if you look on my icon and everything, in 2021, I went to a Halloween party and I wore a Borat mankini. Do you know what a Borat? Did you see the picture of mine on my
Oh,
website of the
yes.
Borat mankini?
Oh,
Okay,
it's
so
it's on my bedroom wall.
perfect. That's where it should be. Your background of your phone. No, the lock screen actually. That's where it
Yeah,
should
yeah,
be. Lock screen.
definitely. Yes.
So I wore that. One of the main reasons why I wore that, and you can literally pretty much see my dick. And the backside, I can't even put it on the internet because I'll probably get banned off of every platform.
Zuckerberg.
It's
Yeah.
literally, you can imagine. Okay, so I did that on purpose to try to sledgehammer smash some of the body related judgment, shame type things that I had going on. And I did it just as like an experiment.
To like
And
lean
I'll
into
tell you,
it.
we pulled up to the party and I can't even sit down, literally. Like I'm sitting in the chair. I had to put a sweater over my, because you really can't even sit down. You're basically flashing everyone at that point. So I had like a sweater thing that I kind of put over here like this, right? And I remember we pull up to the party, and the whole way there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the baddest motherfucker ever. Like everyone's laughing, like all my friends think it's the funniest thing ever. And we pull up to the party, and I'm telling you, like, I was so terrified. Like my hand was so sweaty that it was like a sheet of oil. Like I was
Game time.
like staring a grizzly bear in the face. That's like the level of like terror I was experiencing. And I just grabbed onto the thing and I opened the door and I was able to stand up and adjust, and then I could take the sweater away because then I could walk. And I walked into the party and the whole party stopped. I mean, it was like,
Talk about peacocking.
but it was like, and I knew a lot of these people, and I've known a lot of these people for a long time. There's probably 50 people there, 40 people there. And this is what happened. All the men ran away. And I mean, like, as though there was a bomb that went off or a bomb scare. And all the women came running to me. And two women, one woman who's a friend of mine, she laughed uncontrollably, like basically as hard as I laughed when you said "smile out your fucking mouth," and that was like 20 minutes of me like can't even breathe. It was the same exact thing that this woman went through, and her friend went through kind of the same thing. And then I got two women ask me for my phone number that evening, and I mean, I don't think I've ever had that happen
And
in my
that's
entire
that's
life.
unapologetically yourself.
And it was
What are you
just, and
attracted to?
I'm telling you, ever since I did that, it really was effective at a permanent change in the way that, like what you're saying, like just whatever, it's all relative. When you face the bigger fear of being borderline naked in a room full of people that you know, and it's like fucked. Now all the things that I used to be scared of are so much more insignificant relative to that what I did. And
Yeah.
it was just an experiment, but it changed a lot for me actually. And It's
That
an
makes sense.
interesting mention here.
Yeah, no, Tony Robbins talks about that. Like the way to make long-lasting change last is when you make your new identity your identity. So like if your like I do hard things, I do scary things, you know, now that is your identity. You do that. So
Yeah.
then all of the little decisions that you have to make, you're like, "Oh, well, I lead with who I am. I do hard things. So yes, I'm going to do that, right?" So in that I love, and it's so funny that you say that cuz I have a very similar story where it wasn't me, but I was at a music festival, and you know, I had become friends with this group, whatever. And there's these two guys, and they're both like equal level of like attractiveness. You know, they're like good looking, whatever. But one guy, he had like you could tell he was like, you know, he was fun, he was nice, but he was in like normie clothes, where it was like maybe like a tie dye shirt. You know, he seemed like a little bit like he just wanted to play it safe. You know, like when it comes. But at music fest, if you've ever been, like people wear fucking anything and everything. Second guy, he's wearing a full blown tutu and like a little like a banana hammock thing, with like you know like Mardi Gras beads, right? Who do you like? Same thing. All the girls flock to him, myself included, because I'm like, this guy is comfortable in his skin, and you lean into it, like you lean into your weirdness. Because it shows us, the woman, that your happiness, your contentness is worth more to you than trying to impress me. And that tells me that this deal is likely to be more sweeter for me than it is for you. Now I'm interested. But if you're catering everything that you're trying to do and everything that you're trying to say to make sure that you don't press any buttons, that you're making sure that like you're saying all the right things, the PC things that are, you know, good and safe, what happens is it tells the girl subconsciously, okay, you're trying very hard for me. That must mean that you don't get a lot of girls like me. I don't want to feel like I'm your only option. This deal is much sweeter for you than it is for me. I'm out. See how that works?
Yeah.
So, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about. I think in the beginning of the first episode was, you know, when you are, and this goes for men and women both, right? When you are around a group of people, you know, when you're around someone that is comfortable with themselves, that looks good, that smells good, that is just, it makes you become that, because we are a product of our environment. And I can't remember the book. Maybe it was Models by Mark Manson, which is a great book, by the way.
Great book.
But yeah. Although I did not like Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That was the only book I was not excited about. But whatever. Anyway, the he talks about, like, you know, the words, right? So you're at a party, you know, guy with a stained shirt, unkept beard, overweight, kind of a slob. You're talking to him, you know, you're in a conversation with him. All of a sudden, he's like, "You know what, man? I really like you. I really like you. Like, you know, I really like the conversation. We should go into business together, right? Like, we should do this." And then it's like, "Oh, okay. See you later. Bye." You know, same. Now imagine, different guy, same words, right? But this guy's got a nice suit on. He looks good. He looks like he takes care of himself. Looks like, you know, he communicates well. But says the same thing. You know, I really enjoyed this conversation. You know, I really liked you. You know, I really think that we should go into business together. Same words, completely different vibes, right? So it's one of those things where when you make your identity, like when you start making all of your actions surround yourself with who you want to become. Like, one of my assignments that I have in my coaching program is like who is your idealized version of yourself? Who is that man? You can wave your magic wand. Write down the characteristics. Who is that person? Your best version of yourself. Okay, now you have a framework. Reversing, what do you need to give up in order to become that person? Now it's just action.
And that's the missing thing, because I think what you said there really nails something that is so important, because so many people are looking to get rid of themselves and replace themselves with something that is not themselves, that is supposed to be what other people want.
Yes.
That's fucking insane. That's literally, I'm sorry, I've done it my whole life. So I am a guilty party as fuck. Put me in the cell, throw away the key. But I'll tell you, that is fucking insane.
It's why I left the last company that I was working with, because I felt that that was kind of the it's like the evil side of pickup, right? I don't think all pickup is bad. I think that I mean,
Yeah.
obviously a lot of the stuff that I teach, derives from that. But I think that there's an uglier side to it where it's like, hey, we're going to water down and shave off or even take off complete parts of yourself because those aren't working. And now we're going to replace it with something that does not sound natural. Say these lines, say this script. So you have a bunch of guys out there kind of just saying random things and not really understanding where that really comes from, what really women are attracted to. So yeah, I mean, the perk is that you might get a few girls here and there, but they'll always end up bailing because it's like you can't perform forever. So unless you make your idealized version of yourself your new identity, those changes that you're making are never going to stick. And the only way
Yeah.
to do that is actually to integrate yourself, right? So that's the other thing too. It's like my job as a dating coach, I'm not trying to change an ounce of who you are. I'm trying to ask the right questions and get you to look, get that mirror to look with inside yourself to see who the best version is. Okay, now we can bring that out, right? I want to present an environment to where we can exercise what that idealized version of yourself looks like and figure out ways so you can more readily be that person when you're around beautiful women.
And an amazing example of what you're talking about, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, while you were talking, is Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was all these different things, and he was paid so well, and he created all these things, and then what was it, like 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, he exploded in a complete rebellion of identity, and he like lost his mind, and he was so angry and pissed off at himself for allowing himself to become a professional at taking on what he thought other people would like and actually being successful with it. And then
Yeah.
losing himself in that and becoming so good at it. The greatest example of that you could ever fucking mention on any podcast anywhere would be Jim Carrey. Look what happened to him. Yes, he experienced monumental worldwide success, which is what everyone going down these paths wants to have. But then 15 years later, 20 years later, what happened? He exploded in rebellion against that. And it was like an atomic bomb had gone off. So the thing is that he was yearning to be something that he desired. He was yearning to be something that he wanted to be. He was yearning to decide. He's going to decide now, what am I? What characteristics do I want to develop? And it's like what you were saying. You're an amalgamation of the people around you. It's not as though you're taking on other people's identities. An identity is just like a painting. It's just a bunch of things that people have, and they experience life in a certain way, and they react to life a certain way because they themselves find it interesting or useful or whatever. And all you're doing is you are the one in the driver's seat choosing parts of these artistic expressions that you find fascinating, that you would like to integrate into your own artistic expression. And I feel like not only is there nothing wrong with that, that's exactly what people should be doing. And to think of it as some sort of like robotic shelf purchase that you're forcing onto yourself against your own will in order to have a new life, that's not
Because
cool,
the other
man.
thing too, I mean, you go down this path, right? So like, when you're talking about this, what comes up for me is, the facade of gold diggers and rich men, right? So these men, I talk to them every day, where they've spent the better because of capitalistic society, right? Like, use your 20s, you're just workaholic, build this, grow, become this, right? So now you have this man that has dedicated every fucking waking hour to his business, to growing himself financially. I actually had a client earlier today. He was 23. I hope he watches this, and I tried to warn him, but I doubt what I said is going to be even reflective of all of the years of programming that he's had, where he's like, all he does is work. Like, he works at 23 years old, like he works like 70. And I've seen what ends up happening with these men. They're always the ones that are single. They struggle with dating because they think that money is going to be the thing that buys the women, right? That is able to get, women want money, women want security, so I'm going to be able to provide it at that point. But at no point have you figured out who you are outside of work. You don't have any friends, you don't have a social life, you don't have hobbies or interests outside of work. Your whole life is work. How are you going to attract a woman that isn't after you for your money? Because if money is the only thing that you have to offer, money is the only thing she's going to want, right? Because think about it. Women who are into it, you for who you are, she's not going to want to be with a workaholic. I don't.
Yeah.
It's funny. My parents are a great fucking example. My parents have been married for 38, I think, years. And it's the reason I'm a dating coach. Like, they are the example. Like, they have a great marriage. They're friends. They make each other laugh. They still, they look good for each other. Like, it's like very, very good, right? So seeing that, even my mom, my dad's a neurologist. My dad's a doctor, and very well. We live comfortably. My mom. You know what she says all the time? I cannot wait until you retire. Retire sooner. Like, let's go play. She always thought that he worked too hard. And even though he still made, he helped us at home. He was home for dinner, like all these, he worked very hard, but he prioritized, did time management very well. But it's funny because I see a lot of other couples where the man is working all the time. And the only woman that man is really going to be able to attract is a woman that kind of wants to stay detached. She's not going to miss you because you're working all the time. So it's funny how, it's not the woman after you for your money. It's more, okay, it's both. Like, what lifestyle are you attracting, right? A man could use a woman for her beauty, but a man is also, getting that ego boost, right? A woman's using him for his money. A man is using her for the beauty and the ego boost. It's both transactional. That's a little match made in heaven. So when you have this structure where all of your life's work, everything that you do, you put into work, but you don't focus on who you are, you're really doing yourself a wild disservice in dating and also in happiness, because happiness is from relationships and interactions.
Yeah. You see so much of that now, especially in LA. You see this transactional sugar mama, sugar baby thing going on.
Oh, I'm in South Florida and I see it. It's so wild. I'm in South Florida. People say LA is bad. I'm like, yo, people in Miami are what everyone says people in LA are like. Miami is a next fucking level of this shit. And it's so obnoxious to the point where it's actually ruining my own dating life. Because so many men have been scorned by women, and I'm a part of these groups of are we dating the same man or whatever the fuck. And these girls are like, if he's not taking me to a Michelin star restaurant on the first date, fuck him. Like, he needs to buy this, he needs to buy this. I'm like, so you're a prostitute. I don't what are you even saying? And now it's ruining it for me because these guys are they're so afraid to ask me out for dinner because they're thinking that I'm going to request, $300 dinner. It's like, dude, calm down. But also I don't want to, I'm also a little chivalrous, right? If you're going to ask me on a date, you better fucking pay, but I'm also not going to make you take me to the fucking nicest restaurant either. Take me to a damn pool hall and get me a whiskey, get me a Jameson. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's this world that I think, going back to the supply and demand of women, it's a world that I think men are perpetuating because they're the ones paying for it. And again, if they're paying for it, there's always going to be a supply. Beautiful women.
That's, and it's interesting that you bring that up because I actually have had girls reach out to me from the Miami area, and I have spoken to them in depth, and I've become very close friends with a couple of them. And what's so funny is you're talking this, and I'm actually thinking this in my head. Someone who I care about very much. She's amazing. She's incredible. We've been talking for probably a year and a half. She is one of those women where you're going to take me out. You're going to do this. If she doesn't get dropped off, literally right at the front with the valet, and he makes her walk in heels, it's all over. It's very. But what's so funny is I'm just thinking about this now. She's never ever treated me that way, ever. Not even Not even like never. Like never, ever, ever have I
In
seen
what
that
way?
side
Like
of her.
she doesn't like
She
you can
doesn't.
bring.
She treats everyone else that way except me.
You know what's so funny? You kind of sound like the girl talking about the bad boy. He treats everyone like that,
Oh,
but
I
the
think
way
you're
that he
cutting out a
treats
little
me is
bit, Jamie.
different. Huh? Oh, did I cut out?
Say that part again. You cut out. Say it again.
You sound like one of those girls that's talking about the bad boy. Like you don't understand him. Like he's like that to everyone else, but not me. Me, he treats me
No, but what?
differently.
No, the way that the reason why I'm saying it is because you're. No, I'm saying it to your point. Actually, is like you get what you attract. You get what you self prophesize. You get what you. So what I'm saying is that I've actually had interactions with women that are that way with every other guy, and but with me,
Yeah, because you hold your own. You bring something else to the table, right? Like that's the thing. You know, when people talk about just attraction, like I always compare it to like a cup, right? Like an empty cup. I love that I have a shot glass right next to my fucking desk. But an empty glass, right? You can fill it up with different things, but if money is the only thing you have to offer, that's the only thing she's going to drink out of the cup from. If you're funny, you know, if you take
yeah.
care of yourself, if you're a good conversationalist, now you have more things to fill it up with, and she's going to keep you around because you fill her cup up in other ways, right? Um, you know, it's just it's an interesting twist of what's happening in the dating world, and I think my mission. So to go back to, I know this is the healthy masculine mission that we were talking about earlier, but like my mission, if I can help accomplish this, maybe not in my life, but if I can help direct the trajectory, you know, I want us to get back on the same damn team again. I really hate how much like it's like dating has become the same as politics. Republican, Democrat, men, women. Like, isn't it funny that like the same society, like we are breeding just the polarization is exhausting and it's honestly boring and I'm just like over it. So like going back to like manifesting, I said this the other day, like women we love to talk about manifestation, right? Like love to talk about like, ooh, manifest this and manifest that, but like women constantly are being like men are shit, like why is every man terrible, like men just need to shut the fuck up, like da da da. First of all, manifest that bitch. That's why, you know what I mean, that's exactly what's gonna happen. And then two, could you imagine if you, I mean, I guess there are, but like I don't think men are as loud about it. The same memes that are going around about like how men are fucking terrible, like I feel like that's the one thing I'm so sick of. When my girlfriends find out that I'm a dating coach, they're constantly sending me memes about how terrible men are, and I'm like, that's not my experience. The men that I see every day are amazing. The men that I see are trying. They would love to be in your company. Like, shame on you. You know what I'm saying? But again, we've just exacerbated like our problems so much because of internet that like it's not realistic. And I would love to bring, like that's my whole goal with all of this. It's just to bring us back to fucking together again because you know, I'm not having fun anymore. I want to be hit on by a guy that's respectful, but I want to be hit on by a fucking guy. I don't do all of this to not get talked to. You know what I'm saying? I want a guy to put me in my feminine. I want him to lead, but men are so damn afraid now that we women had to pick up the slack, and now women are in our masculine. We don't want to be here, but we feel like we have to be here because no one else is here. Men are like, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid. I'm in my feminine. I'm in my feminine, but yet respect me as a man. Like, we're both so discombobulated. It's like, dude, like we got to be more lenient with each other and forgiving. That's the thing that we're missing.
Well, that's probably where the Andrew Tate stuff comes in because it's like they get this swing over to the other side at this extreme, just slam through the wall with your skull like Juggernaut from X-Men, and it's like, okay, you know, it doesn't require any finesse. The middle ground is just kind of skipped, and it just goes from one extreme to the other, which I've done myself, to be honest with you.
So what was your so I would love for the listeners to my listeners to hear this out of the horse's mouth, right? You did not used to be amazing with women. And then
Not even
something
close.
happened.
I didn't even exist.
including my coaching, but something happened where a
Yeah.
lot of things clicked, right? And I would
At
love to
Jamie
hear
Dane Instagram.
exactly. Shameless plug.
I did a
But
lot of
I'd love
shit.
to
I did
hear
a lot
from the
of
horse's
shit.
mouth, like what helped. I'm
I
sure.
did so many things. I was a part of so many things and so many groups and so many clubs and so much therapy and so many philosophy books and so much sales training and so much marketing training. I mean, one of the biggest breakthroughs for me that I ever had in my entire life is by a book from a woman named Sydney Biddle Barrows. It's a book called Uncensored Sales Strategies.
Mm.
And I've read 100 and oh gosh, no, way more than that. Probably 300 plus books on marketing and sales. Only one I've ever read, written by a woman, and only one I've ever read that
I'm
is no
writing
longer in
this down.
print. Written by a
It's
woman,
no longer in print.
no longer in print. You can only get used copies. They're not terribly expensive yet, but they will be because it's like the most insane book ever. So, in this book, Sydney Biddle Barrows. So Sydney Biddle Barrows was a madame, which means she ran an escort agency in New York City in the late 80s to the mid 90s. And it was the largest, wildest, most crazy, wild, successful escort agency ever. And it was like insane. And she talks a lot about building up the perception of class, building up poshness, finesse. And she talks a lot about it's so good. I can't even. I say don't. I mean, I've basically mentally thrown almost every book I've ever read in the trash can, and all I use now is just Dan S. Kennedy and Sydney Biddle Barrows. And Dan S. Kennedy is the guy who forced her to write the book. He's like, the shit that you're saying is so good. I will put my name on it, and I will fund you printing this book. And Dan S. Kennedy was the one who like basically said, you have to do this. And that's
Men empowering women is so fucking awesome. Continue.
dude, it's like, and he's just the most gangster motherfucker ever. Dan S. Kennedy is like, he's one of my biggest mentors, and he's a huge part of all my success. But anyways, so he's the one who said, Sydney, you have to write this. What you have to say is just the most. And now Sydney breaks sales and marketing down into three categories: brute force, consensual, and romance.
Oh my God.
And her whole book is how to move all your sales and marketing from brute force into consensual and then finally into romance.
Wow.
And it's literally how to set up all your flow lines. Like one of the things she talks about is consistency. If you set it up over here and you say something over here, that thing has to be consistent throughout your entire sales and marketing line. They can't be told that it's a clean and great establishment, and then they come in and it's like fucked
Oh my
up
God,
and
that's
dirty and the
so
shit on the
true with
ground.
dating. Women are like journalists. Like we will catch you if you are
That's what I
inconsistent
mean.
with what you're saying.
And the amount of inconsistencies there are in dating, it's almost a point of pride that they can be so inconsistent for a lot of people, which is really sad and depressing because, like Jamie said, how long do you plan on carrying on that charade for the next 20 years? What's the plan here? So the thing is it's a book that changed my perspective, and I realized, and she talks a lot about this in the book, sales and marketing is seduction. It's a romance. And all of the ideas and rules of true sales and marketing, not brute force. Again, I call it rape. I'll say it all day long. I don't care if people get offended or whatever. I truly, truly believe it is an emotional, physical wrestling match. And I truly believe it is an extremely disgusting subject. I personally find it absolutely revolting and disgusting. She's very clear about how it needs to move away from brute force. And you have to upgrade it to a consensual. And then from consensual, you can go to romance. And I established all my sales and marketing lines to be romancing the prospect. And my first book was called Don't Be a Slave to Your Clients, Break Your Chains and Regain Your Sanity. And it was all about setting up romance systems into your business And then my second book was Love is a Battery. And when I wrote the first book and I set up those systems and I had these clients and they were coming in and they were so happy to be there and they loved it and there was no price resistance and it was just like all my clients became my best friends, I realized this is the same as dating. This is the same thing. And that's when I decided to take all that information from that sector and just simply translate it into the dating world. Mm-hmm. But even after I did all that, I still didn't have a lot of success. It wasn't until I started to focus on, and you can have a professional activity, and it's like you said, you can get so involved in a professional activity, but it's like, are you living that same professional life each day, or it's the same life? Tuesday, it's the same life. Wednesday, it's the same life. Thursday, it's the same life. Friday, it's the same life. Or are you going into your professional activity and are you saying, I have an interest in improving my skills and who I am, and I have an interest in honing into my own identity more and more and more to be more successful in my professional activity? That translates to your dating life.
Yes. I always say this. It's like, I'm like, oh, like, do you think your dating life, your lack of dating life is affecting your work? No, I'm doing fine at work. Oh, so you're not saying that if you were in a loving, committed relationship, you would do better or worse at your job? Oh, I do better. Okay. Like, it's so much proven, like, you are going to be a more productive person when you are happy and when you're content. And with that, a lot of it comes from relationships.
Yeah. And if you're going in and you're successful professionally and you're just moving around digits on a computer all day long and you're getting better at moving digits around in a computer, well, you need to realize that doesn't really translate to a female very well. So the thing is that you can get to be the greatest programmer on the planet, world-class hacker, and you're going to be going and seeing Sydney Biddle Barrows down at the escort service for female attention because what you do professionally doesn't translate at all to anybody. Mm-hmm. So the problem is that that's why I believe that's why women love the entrepreneurial man, because the entrepreneurial man is filling out many, many different areas of his skill set and his identity. And those areas that he's filling out, such as the ability to negotiate, high pressure sales, motivation, leadership, all these things, all those skills and all those identity shifts and all those identity building things all translate very, very clearly to the dating world and to women and to how women perceive who you are and what you are in relation to what you were saying earlier, which is like a competence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that circumstance. Like, that's the thing too, like, and also, I filled out obviously my like relationship trait spreadsheet, all the things that I hope for in my partner. And like, one of the first things was like, I really hope that this man is his own boss. Because I think there's also something sexy, the fact that he's not being told what to do by another man. Like he is his own boss, he is his own leader. And like that, and as an entrepreneur, like not all women feel like this, but I think that it is something innate. Like when a man is leading himself, like as an entrepreneur myself, like I am like pretty much only wanting to date a fellow entrepreneur because or someone in sales maybe, but like, so because he makes his own destiny. Like we can learn from each other. And that's the other thing too that's so sexy is like when you're in a position to teach a woman something, that's another way of connection that's really good too. And just by way of just like leading is just so sexy, being a leader of men, himself, instead of being told what to do by someone else.
I can totally see that. I mean, for you, I imagine it's probably more difficult because you are an entrepreneur. Oh. You are doing all these things. You are making money. You are a dating coach. I mean, in a way, you're almost like the nightmare for an insecure man. You are like a walking fucking nightmare for an insecure man. Like
it's
literally.
So many people are like, you're a dating coach. Like, why aren't you in a relationship? I'm like, because I'm a dating coach. Like, that's exactly why I'm not in a relationship. And like, you know how fucking intimidated men get the minute they find out? They're just like, oh, but I will say that guy's right. Like, it does weed out the weak ones, but there are a lot of weak ones, because then a lot of guys will be like, oh, like, am I your little experiment? You're probably judging me right now. And like, as you get super ahead, I'm like, oh God, now I'm thinking about it, you know? But the other thing too, like, yeah, like I notice when you're like, either when you're doing something really good or really bad, that's when my dating coach turns on. But when you're like just normal, like I don't even think about it. But when you bring it up, now I'm thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a nightmare, I will say.
Yeah, because I've had so many women, and I had no clue about this. So many women tell me that that they've had, because of their own success in their own personal life, it has shattered their dating life.
Oh yeah. It's
Like
funny, like
like like
guys don't want girls
fucked.
after them for their money, but yet when we make money, guys are just no, you're too messy. But it's annoying too
I
because it's like,
couldn't believe it. I've heard it
yeah.
so many times, and I'm just like, because to me, I think it's hot. I think it's super hot. Not like pencil skirt, like screaming at people, like throwing, like not like the boardroom,
Like you watch too much porn.
sharks. No, like
Yeah.
the sharks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these. It's like, all right, that's not really attractive. But the entrepreneurial spirit combined with the softness and the finesse of the female spirit, minus that, like, just absolutely what I would consider almost unnecessary masculine aggression that sometimes these women they can develop because they feel like they need that when they really don't, in my opinion. I find it really attractive, personally. I think it's really attractive. But I guess that's just
It's
because
hard to
I
get out like because a lot of men will ask me like, I really want a feminine woman, I really want a feminine woman, but I also don't want a woman that's after me for her money. So what that means is that you also want a woman that's successful financially. So how do you marry the two, right? So you almost, like, what I've realized is I almost need like a hyper masculine man that also has a healed feminine that is also still nurturing, whatever, but a hyper masculine man that it almost like pulls me into my feminine. Because I will say that, and this goes back to the capability, like how I define healthy masculine is capability. Like, if I feel, because a lot of guys will be like, oh, well, I'm so outspoken, I make so many decisions in my day that, like, oh, she's good, she's gonna do the planning, she's gonna figure things out, like I'll just kind of sit back and relax, and I lose interest very quickly when that happens, when it always defaults to me. Now obviously I know this is a team and it's not always going to be him that calls all the shots, but especially in the beginning, in the courting phase, like I feel like all of my courting phases are very short because men get very comfortable very quickly, because if you're not fast with your wallet, I'm paying. And I hate paying, but I also hate a slow wallet. You know what I mean? Or like if you're
I just picture like the Wild West, and it's you're like
oh, I swear to God, dude. I'm like I swear.
come on, cowboy, you gonna pull out that wallet? I'm not gonna do it now.
Yo, though, honestly, like one of the reasons why I broke up with my ex, like he was a slow wallet, and I started resenting every time. Because, like, listen, I get if you've been dating for a while, things even out, fine. But like, this is the second date, actually, the second date, motherfucker, and the fact that the check is just sitting there, bitch, I'm paying, because at the end of the day, I do have money. You know what I'm saying? So I shoot myself in my own. Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting about this subject, in my opinion, is, and I get, probably because I'm a white guy, I'm 38, I make money, I'm an entrepreneur, the whole nine yards, I get a lot of Andrew Tate on my feed. Okay, whatever, it's probably just a demographic thing I've done a lot with.
Womanizer, whatever, fine.
I love women. I'm like a freak. I worship the ground they walk on. And I truly believe,
That energy, by the way, wait, can I just pause really quickly? I hope everyone listened to what he just said. I worship women. I love it. I love that energy. I'm like crushing on this guy right now that has the same thing. Like, he's always like, you're a goddess, you're a goddess. And I'm like, to be desired by a man like that is so masculine. And that's one thing that guys, I think this is one of the problems that I see. A lot of guys are too afraid or just don't want to like lead on the fact that they like love women, because they think that it's synonymous with women taking control and like them succumbing to, like, being a doormat. but there's a difference. It's like I find women so fucking sexy. Like I love, like I
Oh
worship,
yeah.
like it's like the delicious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes me like wet. I'm like, yes. Like I
Yeah.
love to feel desired. Women love to feel desired. And Jordan Peterson talks about this. If you look at all of the tropes of all the famous smut novels like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey, what do they all have in common? And what they have in common is they're a man that's, you know, well known or well respected in his community. He is just desiring the ground. Like, think of Edward in Twilight, right? He wants to literally eat her, right? 50 Shades of Grey, he has to like hold back his desire for this one girl, you know? And like it's such a sexy thing that I wish more guys would have the logic to separate, because you're saying you oh my god, I worship the ground women walk on, is not the same as saying I'm a doormat for them to walk on.
Yeah, it took me a long time to sort of figure this out. So the way I think of it is like, let's say paying for dinner. Okay, like put yourself in the perspective of a woman. So she's doing background checks on you. Her friends are doing background checks on you. She's rallying the troops. Okay, she is
In my case,
talking to
it's
her
my mother.
friends. She's reviewing all the information she can possibly find about you. She's trying to find out where you're going to take her. If she's probably going to look that up. Her friends are going to be talking about it. What do you think about this? Does this guy look like he's crazy? What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? They all kind of like huddle together into the phalanx, right? They're trying to figure everything out. They're trying to do the pre-research. Then they get up. They're thinking all day long. How is it going to go? They're trying to figure it out. Possibly, maybe. But then they're going to get ready. A lot of times it takes a woman 30 minutes, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on what she wants to do to get ready. And then now she's going to go out and she's going to meet you. What does a guy do? He gets up, he washes his
Shit, shower,
balls,
and
he
shave.
puts a fucking shirt on, and he walks out the door. Now, that's a beautiful thing. As a guy, I don't want to fucking go through all that shit that women go through. I don't want it. I don't want to have to worry about getting pregnant, getting raped, getting dragged somewhere. Where am I going? What's happening? It's actually kind of a nightmare, and I think if more men realize that, I think they would have more appreciation for it. And I think that by one of the things that you've mentioned that I started doing that really changed my life, and this is huge. This is like top 5 things that I've ever done that improved my dating life, and it's probably one of the maybe even like top 2 or top 3 is befriending women, and lots of them, and talking to them, and even if it's like a sister thing, it doesn't matter. Like just, and then I can ask them questions and I can have concerns. And I've dated girls who I would go the next day and listen to Jamie, one of our things, and then I remember this one girl, I texted her and I said, I'm fucking retarded. I'm retarded. I apologize for last night. Can I just ask you a bunch of questions? Can you just help me not be fucking retarded? And literally, she was like, I'm down. And I just started talking to her. And we just started talking about this, and how was this, and how did this make you feel, and what was this, and what could I have done here, and how did that work in the previous situations for you, and this and that. And she was like thrilled. It didn't become anything like sexual or anything like that, but it was like an amazing friendship thing where this woman was just giving me these insights into the female world. And the more information that I could get about the female world, now I'm like, no, bitch, you aren't paying for a fucking thing. Like, when we go out, I'm paying for everything. Now, we're not doing $400 shots all night long. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we're going to go out. It's going to be someplace nice. I'm going to try to take you someplace that I know. I'm going to try to figure out what kind of food you like. I'm going to try to get you what you like, and I'm paying for the goddamn thing. And I'm quick to the draw, Jamie. So
Good.
the thing is that it's you know, because I understand the amount of effort, and I understand the amount of pre-planning, and I understand the amount of interest that a woman puts into something like this, and I appreciate it as an art form. And I think that's the when I say I love women, it can get translated into simp. It can get translated into this. It can get translated into that. It can get translated into this. I think of a world without women, and I literally, I'm not a suicidal person at all whatsoever. I would not want to live in that world. I would not want to live. I would be.
And you know what? And I feel the same way about men. And a lot of women, they pretend like, oh, we can, we're going to start a society without them. It's going to be way better. No, you would hate each other. You would fucking
Oh
hate
yeah.
each other. You ever seen the show Bad Girls Club? Like, they fucking kill each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love men too. Like, and that's kind of like where I'm at. Like, I want to get people back together, but it's so good to hear you say that. And yeah, female friends, man, that is always a game changer. And it's getting men out of their stupid mindset where they're like, the only women that I can interact with are the ones that I can fuck, like they don't see the value in women
Yeah.
outside of having sex with. And I'm like, that's really going to set you back so much. Because also the other thing too is, and I've learned this as a girl, without a lot of girlfriends. Well, I shouldn't say I have a lot of girlfriends. They're all married, but without a lot of single girlfriends. Female friends that are single are a social currency. You want to talk about fucking supply and demand? You can
Yeah.
get into more places. You can be invited to more places. If you have single female friends around you as a guy and a girl.
And if they're
'Cause
your
there's-
wingman and they know you and they actually are your wingman because they actually like you as a friend and they actually
Food
want to see you
selection.
successful with women, oh my God,
Yes.
you could just kick back and drink your whiskey and I mean, it's over. I mean,
Right.
but the thing is that, the thing is that I could take a woman. I've never had this. And to be honest with you, I really frankly don't think I ever will have a woman try to use me for my money. It's just so not even.
Your boundaries, the entity that you are, you would naturally weed it out. And I feel the same way with, I don't think I'll ever be in an abusive relationship because my
Yeah, I
boundaries
just
will naturally
don't-
weed them out.
I think if a woman was thinking like that, and I don't think I've ever, like I said, now that I'm thinking about it, never thought of this. I've had women who do think like that with other men, and they meet me and they just love me for who I am, and they never ask me for anything. I'm the only guy, and it's like, it's just because I'll take they're scared and they're. One of the girls that I'm referring to specifically is she's scared and she wants to have more of a traditional relationship. And maybe because Miami's so fucked up like that, she thinks that she kind of needs to behave that way. I don't know because she's in that area. But it's like you just take her, by her chin or whatever, and you pick up her chin and you go, "You're beautiful. It'll be okay. Like it'll be okay. Like you don't have to, And it's like you can just admire her for her tenacity and you can admire her for whatever she's trying to do, and that whole weird scarcity mechanism or whatever it is, it just kind of melts away. And it's just not, I don't think that kind of mentality could even survive in my space. Like it would just be obliterated.
Yeah, because it's your frame. Your frame is that you don't even see it. Like, if you don't see gold diggers, they're not going to come. But if you're just always searching to see, oh, girls are going to use me for my money, guess what you're only going to find? Because the only girls that you're going to attract are the ones that are going to accept that frame.
Yeah, it's just so.
And I feel the
hearing
same way
that
about,
from you, it's
like,
just
with
so.
men. With men, like, I like, that's what I was saying, like, manifesting. Like, I talk about, like, how great men are. I fucking love guys. Guys are funny. They're fun. I have the best times with them. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think I would, like, even with guys that I've dated, like, I've never dated like an abusive narcissist. Like, it's never really been my
Yeah.
thing. My dad is an excellent example. And that's something else I heard. This is from Sadia Khan, who I fucking love. My God, she's amazing. When you're dating a woman, you're not competing with other guys. You're competing with her father. You're competing with her childhood. What she's normalized. And a lot of these women, especially in Miami, and I see this in the groups all the time. If he's not paying for you, he doesn't care about you. So imagine hearing that from a younger age, right? Marry a man with money. If he's not paying for it, he doesn't give a shit about you. Like, you're just a side piece if he's not doing these things. So now you're an adult. How are you going to act? Bitch, you better pay for me because she's wanting your affection. So it's such an interesting, like for me as a you know, so, enthusiast of psychology, right? I'm always thinking, okay, where did these narratives start? Because I very rarely believe that people just have malicious intent to have malicious intent. I just there's always an origin story. Like no one's a villain because they're a villain. Like where did they come from, right? There's always a good
Yeah.
reason to do everything. So that when you understand that, now you start to understand, okay, a lot of gold diggers, you know, they likely came from poor backgrounds. So they were raised in a family where the mother and the father are constantly like, marry a man with money. So now they have a framework of who they need. They're being told that if this man like better be paying for you or else he doesn't care about you. Okay, so then now that's what she's going to look for, you know, and to only to really pay attention to how you're looking, you know. And the men, it's the same thing. Like, you know, the men, you're going to get respect if you have the hot girlfriend, if you have the hot wife, you know, you need to make a lot of money. So now he just dives into work, hoping that it's going to pay for the woman. You know, it's a match made in heaven, right? Or
Yeah.
hell, honestly. But
Yeah, that's to
so
be honest,
it's
yeah,
just it's an interesting concept, and I really hope that, you know, I hope that there's a way that we can, you know, reconcile where people can either live a traditional or a non-traditional lifestyle, because I think both are right for the right people. But in a way where everyone feels like comfortable and confident and like to be themselves, and they don't have to pretend to be someone they're not, or feel like they have to get something from someone to get what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like to be self-sufficient on both sides.
yeah, and I think I'm just thinking of one thing that Zan said before that's really interesting. He says that the more sexual abundance that a man has, the more he starts thinking like a woman.
I
And
believe that 1,000 jillion%.
I
Yep.
think that is so true because I'm at the point now where I don't do online dating. I don't approach, which I actually would like to do approach. Just not even to try to pick up girls, just because I think they're beautiful and I want to let them know. Period. That's it. I mean, literally. I would like to do that. I don't do it as much as I'd like to. Just share my masculinity in a way that shows women that maybe possibly all men aren't the same. You know, I mean, just one comment can shatter a whole paradigm, by the way. But the thing is it's also like, if you don't love who I am, and you don't love what I'm doing, and you don't love what I stand for, and you don't love where I'm going, and you're not literally in love with what I do and who I am, I don't even want to date you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You know,
mean,
there's one journal prompt that I have my guys write in my program, and it's in relationships I will no longer accept. And I had one guy on here, and like first or second meeting we had together, he was like, Jamie, I did your journal prompt. I had never thought I was literally like an hour. I was just writing all these things that I realized that I was just accepting from mediocre women, and now that I have everything on paper, I can't go back. And now he's dating a new girl. It's like that's how quick the transformation can be. Very
yeah.
inspiring. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I could probably talk to you all day. And it's been absolutely amazing, and I love you so much. Like truly,
Yes.
you're like, I feel like you and I are like have like surfed the galaxy together in a
We
previous
have.
lifetime. Like literally. Like
And we have
I
so much
like
more to go.
love you. I'm like every time you come up on my feed, I'm like, I'm just like so fucking happy that she exists. Like literally, I'm just like I could be like sad, and I'm like, oh wait, no, Jamie exists. Like it's all okay. Like it's beautiful. Like it's fucking beautiful. Like no
Thank
joke.
you. Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do. And at Jamie Date, we'll probably do this again sometime
Yeah,
if you would like to. I think that'd
for
be
sure.
fun. And
Yeah, I got to start a podcast at some point. Yeah.
are you guesting on a lot of podcasts, or are you just?
I am from time to time. I mean, if I really push it, I can be on a lot. But I think I just spent the last 3 months trying to get this program out and running, and now now I'm starting to do other stuff. There's always that's the best part about being an entrepreneur, right? It's like every day it's like what do I want to
Yeah,
work on now, you know?
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd highly recommend that everyone go check out Jamie's material. She has a lot of free material on her Facebook, on her Instagram, I believe TikTok. It's very fun. She's always answering questions from various people in the comments section, or she's doing little skits where she's talking to someone else, but it just happens to be Jamie, which I think is really cute. And it's just amazing, and it's just super grounding. And a lot of the messages, I think, are more geared toward men, but I think that women will also find a lot of value and interest in what you have to say and what you're doing. So, so thank you so much. I think you are a extremely interesting voice in a world that is insane on the subject of what you teach. And I think that there's not really anyone doing it the way you do. And I think that you care so much, and you care so much about the enlightenment and the awareness of men increasing in this world. And I just
Thank
love
you.
you.
I love you too.
Period.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of us. Look at us go.
I know, isn't it
Thank
crazy?
you so much. Find me on Jamie Date, Jamie Date, and thank you. Mwah.
All right.